Hello, everyone. Omni Sensei here with What If I Was Reborn in Marvel as Ben 10? Part 2. If you enjoy this kind of content, please smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to check out the original story linked in the description. I hope you enjoy listening to it.
The interior of the building was a war zone. Broken glass and overturned desks littered the floors. The two remaining lizard men snarled and roared as they tore through security, clearing the way for Dr. Connors. "You don't have to do this, Connors," Spider-Man shouted, flipping into the fray. "We can fix this. Fix you. Just stop the madness." Dr. Connors sneered. "Fix me? I'm not broken. This is the next step in evolution. Humanity is weak, but we can become strong, superior." Spider-Man dodged a swipe from one of the lizard men, countering with a web to its face. "You know, you guys really need to work on your sales pitch. Turn into a giant lizard and terrorize the city isn't exactly appealing." The lizard roared, breaking free of the webbing and lunging again. Peter spun and kicked it into a pillar. "Stay down, buddy." Dr. Connors and the other lizard man reached the rooftop access. "We're out of time, Spider-Man," Connors shouted. "The Gonali device will usher in a new era." Peter's heart sank. If Connors released the chemical compound, the entire city would be transformed into lizard creatures. He fired a web line, pulling himself after them. "Not on my watch, Doc." The rooftop was bathed in the glow of Oscorp's towering logo. Dr. Connors positioned the Gonali device at the center, its mechanisms whirring to life. "This is it," he declared to his two remaining lizard men. "Soon, all of New York will join us." Before he could activate the device, Spider-Man swung onto the roof, landing in a crouch. "Sorry, Doc, but I'm putting a hard pass on your whole reptilian revolution thing," Connors growled, motioning to the lizard men. "Kill him." As the two lizard men charged, Spider-Man leaped into action. He ducked under one's claws, webbing its legs together and flipping it over his shoulder. "You guys really need a new strategy. This whole attack in pairs thing isn't working." The second lizard man grabbed a chunk of debris and hurled it at Peter. He dodged, firing web shots in rapid succession to pin the creature against a wall. "And stay there," Connors snarled, preparing to activate the device. Before he could, a massive explosion of fire erupted from the sky, slamming into the rooftop and knocking him aside. The two lizard men froze, momentarily stunned. All eyes turned to the source of the explosion. Floating above the rooftop was Heat Blast, his fiery form glowing like a beacon against the night sky. Flames crackled around him as he stood atop a floating platform of molten rock. "This madness ends here," Heat Blast declared, his voice echoing across the city. The rhythmic thrum of the helicopter blades echoed in the air as the Channel 8 news team hovered above Oscorp Tower. Below, the glittering skyline of New York City was interrupted by chaos. The once busy streets surrounding the tower were now a battlefield littered with debris, overturned cars, and panicked civilians fleeing from the rampage of monstrous lizard creatures. Inside the helicopter, reporter Karen Summers gripped the microphone tightly. Her voice trembled as she addressed the live audience tuning in from their homes. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Karen Summers reporting live from the skies above Oscorp Tower, where an unprecedented scene is unfolding. Mutant creatures, what appear to be lizard men, are rampaging through the city and have breached the iconic tower. Spider-Man has just been spotted engaging them on the rooftop in what looks like a desperate effort to stop the carnage." The camera zoomed in, capturing Spider-Man mid-swing as he dodged a lizardman's claws and countered with a series of well-placed web shots. The rooftop's intensity was palpable, even from the helicopter's vantage point. "And now," Karen continued, her voice rising with urgency, "wait, what is that? Someone, is descending from above." The camera panned upwards, catching a glowing figure cutting through the night sky like a comet. Flames danced around him, illuminating the dark clouds. The heat radiated so intensely that even from this altitude, the team could feel its pulse. The cameraman gasped, his voice audible over the broadcast. "Is that a person on fire?" Karen's eyes widened as the figure came into focus. "It appears to be a humanoid figure engulfed entirely in flames." "Wait, no, not just flames. Look closely. He's standing on what seems to be a floating platform of molten rock. This defies all explanation." The camera tracked Heat Blast as he descended, the swirling inferno around him casting eerie, flickering shadows over the rooftop. With a sudden burst, he propelled himself forward, soaring over Oscorp Tower like a fiery phoenix. The molten platform dissolved beneath him as he landed, the impact sending a wave of heat that rippled through the rooftop. Ladies and gentlemen, Karen's voice shook. This fiery figure, who or what it is, we don't yet know, has just entered the battle. The scene is nothing short of extraordinary. The helicopter's spotlight followed Heat Blast as he faced off against the lizard creatures, his every movement exuding power and precision. Flames coiled around his arms like living entities, bursting forward in explosive waves that forced the lizards back. He's attacking the lizard creatures with controlled fire. Look at the precision. He's not harming Spider-Man or damaging the tower itself, Karen marveled. Could this be another hero? The camera zoomed in on Heat Blast as he raised his hand, a spiral of flame erupting from his palm to cut off Dr. Connor's escape. Heat Blast's voice, clear and commanding, carried over the rooftop. This madness ends here. The fiery declaration sent chills through Karen, despite the heat emanating from below. There you have it, folks, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Whoever this is, they've just made a powerful statement. Dr. Connor snarled, clutching the Gonali device. You can't stop me. This city belongs to the strong. Heat Blast stepped forward, flames intensifying. No, Connors. This city belongs to its people, and I won't let you take it from them. Connors roared, charging at Heat Blast. The two clashed in a flurry of fire and claws, their blows shaking the rooftop. Heat Blast launched a series of fireballs, forcing Connors to retreat. Meanwhile, Spider-Man faced the remaining Lizardman. The two exchanged blows, with Peter using his agility to outmaneuver the creature. You know, he quipped, dodging a swipe, you'd be a lot scarier if you weren't so predictable. Peter webbed the creature's legs, yanking it off balance and slamming it into the ground. And that's a wrap. Heat Blast, still battling Connors, glanced at the device. Spider-Man. The serum. Peter nodded, grabbing the serum from his belt. He dodged past Connors and injected the serum into his arm. The Lizardman roared in agony, his body convulsing as the mutation began to reverse. Heat Blast turned to the last Lizardman, flames swirling around him. Your turn. With a swift strike, he subdued the creature and used the serum to restore it to its human form. The rooftop fell silent, save for the hum of the news helicopter. Dr. Connors lay on the ground, his human form restored but unconscious. The Gonali device was deactivated, its threat neutralized. Heat Blast looked at Spider-Man, his flames dimming slightly. Nice work, Webhead. You too, Hotshot, Peter replied, grinning under his mask. Below, the city erupted in cheers as the news broadcast captured the heroes standing victorious. For now, New York was safe. The room buzzed with activity as agents moved between workstations, analyzing live feeds, reports, and intercepted communications from New York City. Large screens displayed looping footage of the Oscorp Tower incident. Prominent among the images was Spider-Man's acrobatics and the fiery figure of Heat Blast battling lizard creatures and thwarting Dr. Connors. Nick Fury stood at the center, his single eye scanning the various feats. His face was impassive, but those who knew him well could sense the undercurrent of frustration. Beside him, Maria Hill held a tablet displaying real-time analytics. Let's go over this again, Fury said, his voice cutting through the room's hum. What do we know so far? Maria stepped forward, projecting a holographic timeline onto the central screen. It detailed the events from the first lizard sightings to the final moments of the rooftop battle. At approximately 9:17 p.m., Maria began. The first reports came in about mutated lizard men causing chaos in the city. Spider-Man was the first known responder, engaging the creatures near Oscorp Tower. Shortly after, the fiery entity, dubbed Inferno by the media, joined the fight. Together, they contained the threat and neutralized Dr. Connors before he could activate the Gonali device. Fury folded his arms. And the aftermath? Maria swiped the screen, bringing up post-incident data. Dr. Connors and the affected civilians have been taken into custody or medical care. Initial scans show they've been restored to their original forms, but the exact method of reversal remains unclear. Oscorp's systems are still being analyzed, but as of now, there's no trace of any external tampering that could explain the transformations. Fury's brow furrowed. What about the heroes? Spider-Man and the other one. What's their story? Maria hesitated for a moment before pulling up another set of visuals. The footage showed Spider-Man swinging between buildings, evading shield drones with surprising skill. Heat Blast was seen flying on his molten platform, his heat signature making him nearly impossible to track with thermal imaging. "We've gathered all available footage and reports," Maria said, "but every lead hits a dead end. Spider-Man's suit appears to block facial recognition and biometric scans. We've attempted to trace his movements through traffic cameras, but his agility and speed make it nearly impossible. As for Inferno, his fiery form disrupts every tracking system we have. Thermal imaging, spectral analysis, nothing works." Fury leaned closer to the screen. "So, you're telling me two superpowered individuals wreak havoc in one of the most monitored cities in the world, and we can't even figure out their zip codes?" Maria exchanged a glance with another agent before continuing. "There's more, sir. Any traceable data, anything that could even hint at their identities, has been systematically erased." Fury raised an eyebrow. "Erased? Wiped clean," Maria confirmed. "Traffic camera footage, satellite imagery, even Oscorp's internal security feeds. It's as if someone anticipated our investigation and covered their tracks in real time. Whoever, or whatever, did this is operating at a level far beyond anything we've encountered. They are not too sure there are more." The main screen displayed a looping montage of Spider-Man, Heat Blast, Diamond Head, and XLR-8 in action, each scene more perplexing than the last. Nick Fury stood at the center, arms crossed, his one good eye narrowing at the images. Maria Hill, tablets in hand, ready to brief him on the latest findings. Fury broke the silence. "All right, let's run through this mess again. What do we know about these individuals?" Maria stepped forward and tapped her tablet, bringing up a timeline of events. The first recorded appearance was at Midtown High School. Witnesses describe a spiky crystal creature, later identified as Diamond Head, as he shouted his name, engaging lizard creatures and creating crystal cages to neutralize them. Security footage from nearby cameras corroborates this, but all attempts to track Diamond Head after the incident have failed. She swiped the screen, bringing up footage of the fiery heat blast during the Oscorp Tower battle. Later, at Oscorp, we see the appearance of a humanoid figure engulfed in flames. Nicknamed Inferno by media outlets, this entity displayed advanced combat capabilities and the ability to project and manipulate fire with precision. Swiping to another segment of footage. And then there's this one, XLR-8. Witnesses describe a creature moving faster than the eye could follow. He was seen evacuating civilians and engaging lizard creatures with what appeared to be superhuman speed. This footage, he pointed to a blurry video, is the clearest shot we have, and even that's barely usable. Fury glanced at the screen. 3 separate entities, all showing up at the same incident? That's no coincidence. Maria hesitated. "We're not entirely sure they're separate entities, sir." At that moment, Agent Phil Coulson entered the room, carrying a folder marked confidential. He nodded at Fury and Maria before placing the folder on the table. "We've conducted a thorough investigation into the Oscorp Tower incident," Coulson began. "Interviews with witnesses, analysis of media footage, and a deep dive into Oscorp's records. The results are unsettling." Fury motioned for him to continue. "Witness accounts are inconsistent," Coulson said. "Most civilians describe Spider-Man accurately, but their descriptions of Inferno vary wildly. Some say he was human-shaped, others swear he looked alien. The one constant is his ability to manipulate fire with precision." He opened the folder to reveal a series of photographs. Each image was blurred, distorted, or partially corrupted. "This is the best we could recover from Oscorp's cameras. Whoever wiped the data left just enough to tease us, but not enough to be useful." Fury studied the photos, his expression darkening. "And Dr. Connors?" "Currently in SHIELD custody," Coulson replied. "He's been sedated for now, but preliminary interviews suggest he doesn't remember much after his transformation. We're running DNA and psychological assessments, but it could take weeks to get anything actionable." Maria tapped her tablet again, overlaying the 3 figures, Diamond Head, Heat Blast, and XLR-8, on the screen. "Based on their behavior and timing, we believe these forms are connected. Witnesses report that Diamond Head, Inferno, and XLR-8 never appeared simultaneously. This has led to the theory that we're dealing with a single individual capable of shapeshifting." Coulson added, "That would explain why we've been unable to track them. If this is one person switching forms, they could be using their abilities to evade detection." Fury stared at the screen, his expression unreadable. "A mutant?" "Possibly," Maria replied. "But the technology and precision behind their actions suggest something more. It's not just their abilities, it's how they're erasing every trace of themselves." Coulson nodded. "Every traffic camera, satellite feed, and Oscorp security system has been wiped clean. Whoever, or whatever, they are, they have access to technology far beyond anything we've encountered. Fury turned back to the large screen, watching the looping footage of Spider-Man and Heat Blast in action. The way they moved, coordinated, and neutralized the threat suggested experience and training. Yet, they operated outside the system, leaving no traceable evidence behind. Who's pulling the strings here? Fury muttered, more to himself than anyone else. Two unknowns show up out of nowhere, save the day, and vanish like ghosts. That kind of precision doesn't happen by accident. Maria hesitated before speaking. Sir, there's another possibility we need to consider. Fury glanced at her. I'm listening. What if this isn't just two individuals? What if it's a larger operation, a group or organization with resources capable of erasing data on this scale? Fury's jaw tightened. You're saying there's a shadow group out there, running interference on our turf? It's a possibility we can't ignore, Maria said. The level of coordination suggests more than just luck or coincidence. Unbeknownst to S.H.I.E.L.D., Baymax, a highly advanced AI created by Ben, was actively monitoring their investigation. Hidden within the systems, Baymax had anticipated every move S.H.I.E.L.D. would make. Using sophisticated algorithms, it intercepted and altered surveillance feeds, corrupted data packets, and rerouted investigations down false paths. Back in Ben's secret base, Baymax's interface glowed softly as it processed S.H.I.E.L.D.'s actions in real time. Its soothing voice echoed in the empty room. All traces of subject activity successfully erased. Monitoring ongoing communications. Countermeasures deployed. Back on the helicarrier, Fury turned to the assembled agents. I want answers. I don't care how long it takes or how many resources we burn. Find me something, anything, that can tell us who these two are. Track that green and white symbol. Maria nodded. Understood, sir. We'll keep digging. But we won't be able to track the symbol because now people thinking them as hero companies are making toys, action figures, and other things of it. Are they nuts? Said Fury. As the room cleared, Fury remained, staring at the frozen image of Heat Blast on the screen. The fiery figure seemed to mock him, a puzzle he couldn't yet solve. Whoever you are, Fury murmured, you just made the most powerful intelligence agency on Earth very interested in you. And trust me, we don't stop until we get what we're looking for. Peter knocked on the door nervously, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. The door creaked open, revealing a warm-looking woman with a kind smile. Hello, Peter began, flashing an awkward grin. I'm Peter Parker, Ben's friend. The woman smiled. Oh, of course. Come in, Peter. Ben's upstairs in his room. Thank you, ma'am, Peter said, stepping inside. As he climbed the stairs, he could hear the faint scratch of a pencil on paper. Pushing the door open, Peter found Ben hunched over a desk, surrounded by scattered papers filled with detailed sketches. Ben looked up from his work and grinned. Oh, you came at just the right time. Check this out. Peter moved closer to the desk and picked up one of the sheets. The drawing depicted a vivid scene of heroes and villains locked in an intense battle. Wow, Peter said, genuinely impressed. These are incredible. Are these from the story you gave Ned and me to read? Ben nodded, leaning back in his chair. Yep. I've been working on some new ideas for the comic. What do you think of the sketches? Peter studied the artwork. They're amazing. You've got serious talent, Ben. Ben chuckled. Thanks. But I didn't call you here just to show off my drawings. Peter raised an eyebrow. Then why did you? Ben leaned forward, his expression turning serious. We've got a problem, Peter. People are trying to investigate us, our identities. Peter frowned. That's nothing new. I've been dodging reporters and curious people for weeks. Ben shook his head. This isn't the same. These aren't just random reporters or curious kids. These are government organizations, hidden ones. If it weren't for my AI, Baymax, they'd have already identified you by now. Peter's eyes widened. Wait, what? Government organizations? How do you even know this? Ben tapped a small device on his desk. Baymax has been intercepting their attempts to trace us. They've been digging deep, Peter, real deep. But I've been erasing every trace they could use to connect us to our identities. Peter sat down, his face pale. This is insane. You're saying the government is actively trying to figure out who we are? Ben nodded. Peter, the world isn't what it seems. There are people out there with powers, abilities like us, but they're hiding. Some of them are working in secret, protected by the government. Others are off the grid entirely. Peter ran a hand through his hair. So what does this mean for us? Are you saying I should stop being Spider-Man? Ben shook his head firmly. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. The world needs Spider-Man. What I'm saying is we need to be smarter about this. Always stay 2 steps ahead of everyone else. If they find out who we are, it won't just be us in danger, it'll be our families. Peter's gaze dropped to the floor as the weight of Ben's words sank in. So what do we do? Ben leaned back in his chair, tapping his temple thoughtfully. We need to ensure our safety. That means better tech. We need to research, build, and stay ahead of anyone trying to track us. And for that, we'll need resources. Money. Peter looked skeptical. Money? Ben, I can barely afford web fluid for my shooters. Ben smirked. That's where I come in. I've been working on some ideas. Things we can sell, apps we can create. We don't need to be billionaires, but we need enough to stay independent. Peter hesitated. So you're saying we turn into tech developers? Ben shrugged. Sort of. Look, Peter, I'm not saying we stop being heroes. I'm saying we prepare for the long game. If we're going to keep doing this, we need to protect ourselves and the people we care about. The world isn't going to make it easy for us. Peter thought for a moment, then nodded. You're right. We can't let anyone find out who we are. But how do we make sure we stay ahead? Ben grinned. Leave that part to me. With Baymax and the Omnitrix, we've got all the tools we need. Now, let's make a plan. Ben walked to his desk and picked up a spherical object, holding it carefully in his hand. The metallic surface gleamed under the soft light of his room. You see this little baby? Ben said, holding it up for Peter to see. This is Baymax's primary server. It's where he stores and computes all his data. Peter leaned in, studying the object with curiosity. That small ball is Baymax's entire server? How does that even work? Ben smirked. Yup. All of Baymax's processing power, storage, and computational abilities are packed into this. It's compact, efficient, and ridiculously powerful. Unlike those giant server farms that companies spend millions on, this baby doesn't need a massive room or an insane power supply. Peter's eyebrows shot up. So, what's your plan with it? Ben's grin widened. I plan to make more of these. Imagine a network of compact, energy-efficient servers like this. It'll revolutionize everything. While companies are burning cash to buy and maintain massive servers, we'll be light years ahead. But that's just step 1. Peter tilted his head. Step 1? What's step 2? Ben placed the sphere back on the desk and turned to Peter. Step 2 is creating 2 social media apps. The first one will be called Twitter, and the second one will be Instagram. Peter frowned. Those are interesting names. What's the idea behind them? Ben crossed his arms, leaning against the desk. Twitter will be a platform for freedom of speech. People can write about their thoughts, daily events, or pretty much anything they want to share. It'll be all about words and ideas. Instagram, on the other hand, will focus on sharing memories, photos, and videos. A place where people can visually connect with each other. Peter rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Those actually sound like solid ideas. But why do you need my help? Isn't Baymax smart enough to handle all of this? Ben sighed, running a hand through his hair. Baymax can build the apps, sure. But there's a catch. Baymax doesn't have enough data to work with. It needs real-world examples, references, and user behavior patterns to design something that people will actually use. Without that data, the apps will be clunky and full of errors. Peter nodded slowly. So, you're saying Baymax can't create something completely original without a reference point? Exactly, Ben replied. It's like trying to draw a masterpiece without ever seeing a painting before. Baymax needs data, and unfortunately, our current internet isn't advanced enough to provide what it needs. Peter crossed his arms. Okay, I get it. But where do I come in? Ben leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with determination. I need your help to gather that data. You're a genius, Peter. Between our coding skills and my tech, we can create something that no one's ever seen before. We'll build the apps from the ground up, test them, and refine them until they're perfect. Peter hesitated. Ben, this sounds huge. Like, way bigger than anything I've done before. Ben placed a reassuring hand on Peter's shoulder. I'm not asking you to do it alone. Baymax and I will handle the heavy lifting. I just need your help to speed up the process. Together, we'll make something incredible. Peter sighed, but a small smile crept onto his face. All right, I'm in. But don't blame me if I accidentally mess something up. Ben laughed. Don't worry. Baymax can fix your mistakes faster than you can make them. The two spent the next hour discussing their plans. Ben explained how he intended to structure the apps, outlining features like timelines, hashtags, photo filters, and user profiles. Peter contributed ideas for improving user experience and ensuring the platforms were secure. "We'll need servers to handle the traffic," Peter said. Ben tapped the spherical object on his desk. "Already working on it. With enough of these, we'll have a network that can handle anything." Peter shook his head, a mix of amusement and admiration in his expression. "You've really thought this through, haven't you?" Ben nodded. "This isn't just about the apps, Peter. It's about building something bigger, something that will give us the resources to stay ahead of anyone trying to come after us." Peter extended a hand. "All right, partner. Let's do this." Ben clasped his hand, his grin widening. "Let's change the world." Ben and Peter sat in Ben's room, the air heavy with anticipation. The desk was cluttered with notebooks, sketches, and Ben's intricate gadgets, while Baymax's holographic interface hovered nearby. This was no ordinary brainstorming session. This was the beginning of an audacious project that could redefine how people connect and communicate. "This is the week," Ben declared, spinning a stylus in his hand. "By the end of it, we'll have built something that could change how people communicate forever." Peter adjusted his glasses and grinned. "All right, let's get to work." The first day was all about setting the groundwork. Ben grabbed a whiteboard and started mapping out the app's core features. "Twitter is about simplicity," Ben explained, sketching out user flows with precise strokes. "People post short updates, follow others, and interact through likes and retweets. That's our focus." Peter leaned over, adding notes to the whiteboard. "We'll need user profiles, timelines, trending topics, and notifications. Let's not forget a robust reporting and blocking system for safety." Baymax's hologram flickered to life. "I recommend prioritizing a modular design. This will allow for scalable expansion as the user base grows." Ben nodded. "Good idea, Baymax. We'll use Kotlin for the backend because of its efficiency and compatibility, React for the frontend for its flexibility, and PostgreSQL for the database." "Sound good?" Peter gave a thumbs up. "Perfect. Let's map out the timeline." By the end of the day, they had a roadmap divided into 10 milestones. They planned to work late into each evening, ensuring they stayed on track. As they closed their notebooks, Ben looked at Peter. "Tomorrow, we dive into coding." "Ready?" "Always," Peter replied with a grin. On the second day, the duo focused on laying the groundwork for the app. "Let's start by setting up the back end," Ben said, typing commands into his terminal. "Baymax, spin up a local development server and initialize the database schema." "Understood," Baymax replied, projecting the schema onto the holographic interface. The tables included users, posts, follows, likes, and trends. Peter worked on the front end, setting up a basic React environment. "We'll need a responsive design. The app has to work on desktops and phones seamlessly." The day was filled with discussions about scalability. Ben implemented the core database structure while Peter created the first version of the user interface. By evening, they had a basic but functional skeleton of the app. "Tomorrow," Ben said, stretching his arms, "we tackle authentication." The third day was dedicated to building the backend. "We need a secure login system," Ben said, diving into the code. "Something foolproof. Two-factor authentication will come later, but password encryption is a must." Peter nodded. "Agreed. We can't have someone hacking into user accounts." Ben implemented a login system using JSON Web Tokens, JWT, for session management and bcrypt for hashing passwords. Peter tested the endpoints, ensuring they worked as expected. "Baymax," Ben said, "simulate 500 users logging in simultaneously." The AI complied, running the simulation. "System stable under current load," it reported. By the end of the day, the login and registration systems were complete. Peter looked at the results and grinned. "We're on a roll." The fourth day focused on creating the app's heart, the timeline. "This is where users will spend most of their time," Ben said, outlining the requirements. "It has to load fast and display posts in real time." Peter worked on the front end, designing a scrolling feed that dynamically loaded posts as the user scrolled. Ben optimized the backend to fetch and sort posts efficiently. "Baymax, simulate 10,000 users posting simultaneously," Ben instructed. The hologram flickered as the simulation ran. "System handling load efficiently," Baymax reported. Peter tested the timeline on his laptop, scrolling through the simulated posts. "This is smooth," he said. "We might actually pull this off." On the fifth day, they added interaction features like likes, retweets, and comments. "Likes are simple enough," Ben said, but retweets need to link back to the original post. That'll require some extra work. Peter built the front-end components for the features, while Ben handled the back-end logic. They tested the features by creating mock accounts and interacting with each other's posts. Baymax, Ben said, analyzed the efficiency of these interactions. Baymax highlighted a few areas for optimization, which Ben quickly addressed. By evening, the features were functioning seamlessly. With the core features complete, the sixth day was all about refinement. Let's stress test the app, Ben said. Baymax, simulate 1 million users. The AI ran an intense simulation, and the logs revealed a few bottlenecks in the database queries. Peter and Ben spent hours optimizing the code, ensuring the app could handle the load. They also tested edge cases, like posting excessively long text or uploading unsupported file formats. Baymax flagged potential errors, which they resolved one by one. By the way, Peter said, what about dark mode? People love that. Ben smirked. Already added it. Check this out. Peter clicked a button, and the interface shifted to a sleek, dark theme. Nice, he said, impressed. The final day was reserved for deployment. Baymax, prepare the cloud server for hosting, Ben instructed. We'll use Kubernetes for scalability. Peter configured the deployment pipeline, ensuring future updates could be integrated without downtime. Once everything was set, they ran one final round of tests. It's working, Peter said, scrolling through the app on his phone. We actually did it. Ben leaned back, a satisfied grin on his face. Twitter is officially ready. As they sat back, watching their creation come to life, Peter turned to Ben. This is going to be huge, isn't it? Ben nodded. Absolutely. And it's just the beginning. Once we launch, we'll gather feedback, refine the app, and expand its features. Twitter will be the platform where everyone has a voice. Ben and Peter sat in Ben's room, their faces illuminated by the glow of their laptops and Baymax's holographic interface. The app they had spent a grueling week building was finally ready for the world. Ben adjusted his chair, glancing at the countdown timer on the screen. All right, Peter, Ben said, taking a deep breath. Are you ready to hit the launch button? Peter grinned nervously. Ready as I'll ever be. Let's do this. Ben hovered his finger over the holographic button. Baymax, ensure all servers are running at optimal capacity. Baymax's calm voice responded. Servers are operational and ready to handle initial traffic. All systems green. All right, Ben said, a smile creeping across his face. Launching in 3, 2, 1. He pressed the button, and a notification popped up. Twitter is live. Peter refreshed the app on his phone. The sleek interface loaded instantly, and he clicked the Sign Up button to create an account. Within moments, he was greeted by the timeline. It works, Peter exclaimed, his excitement palpable. Ben smirked. Of course it works. Now, let's see if anyone else shows up. They had seeded Twitter with a small group of beta testers, including a few friends and classmates, to create a sense of activity. Within minutes, they saw notifications of new sign-ups and posts. Look at this, Peter said, pointing to the dashboard. We've got 100 users already. Ben leaned forward, his eyes scanning the analytics Baymax was displaying. And it's climbing fast. Word is spreading. Later that evening, Ben and Peter decided it was time to share their achievement with their parents. They sat nervously in the living room as Ben's parents and Peter's Aunt May listened intently. So what you're saying, Ben's dad began, is that you two built a social media app in a week? Ben's mom raised an eyebrow. And you think this is going to take off? Ben grinned. It already has. We launched a few hours ago, and we're already seeing hundreds of signups. By tomorrow, it'll be in the thousands. Peter added, it's not just a social media app. It's a way for people to connect globally, instantly. Ben's dad rubbed his chin. I'll admit, I don't fully understand it, but I'm impressed. You boys should be proud. Aunt May beamed. Peter, this is incredible, but you're still doing your homework, right? Peter laughed nervously. Yes, Aunt May. Homework is still a priority. By the end of the first week, Twitter's user base had grown to 50,000. The app's simplicity and real-time nature made it an instant hit, especially among teenagers and young adults. Posts about the app started appearing on other platforms, and influencers began signing up, bringing their followers along. This is insane, Peter said one evening, watching the live analytics. We're getting 10,000 new users every day. Ben nodded, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he implemented minor bug fixes. This is just the beginning. Baymax run a sentiment analysis on tweets mentioning Twitter. Baymax responded, positive mentions account for 92% of total tweets. Users are praising the platform's simplicity and speed. Peter grinned. Looks like we've got something special. By the end of the second week, Twitter's meteoric rise caught the attention of the media. News channels began running segments about the app, marveling at its rapid growth and unique features. This new social media platform, Twitter, is taking the world by storm, a reporter announced on TV. Developed by two high school students, the app allows users to post short, real-time updates. Its popularity is growing at an unprecedented rate, with over 500,000 users in just 2 weeks. Ben and Peter watched the broadcast in awe. "I can't believe we're on the news," Peter said, shaking his head. Ben smirked. "Believe it. This is what happens when you innovate." By the end of the first month, Twitter had over 1 million users. The app's trending section became the go-to place for breaking news, and hashtags like #TwitterRevolution and #GameChanger began trending globally. Peter scrolled through the app, marveling at the diversity of posts. "Look at this," he said. "People are sharing everything: news, jokes, personal stories. It's incredible." Ben leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "This is just the beginning, Peter. We've created a platform for free speech, but now we have to protect it. That means fighting disinformation, ensuring privacy, and keeping it accessible." Peter nodded. "Agreed. But for now, let's take a moment to appreciate what we've accomplished." Ben smiled. "Fair enough. Here's to Twitter, the little app that's already changing the world." As they clinked their soda cans together, Ben, Peter, and Ned walked through the front doors of Midtown High School. The hallway buzzed with energy, but today felt different. Students huddled in groups, their heads bent over their phones, animatedly discussing something. As the trio made their way to their lockers, conversations grew quieter, heads turned, and whispers trailed behind them. "Is that them?" "Yeah, they're the ones who made Twitter." "No way." Ben Tennyson and Peter Parker. "What about Ned? Wasn't he part of it too?" Peter adjusted his backpack nervously, leaning toward Ben. Is it just me? Or does it feel like we've walked into a movie scene?" Ben smirked, clearly enjoying the attention. "Get used to it, Peter. This is what happens when you change the world." Ned, walking between them, grinned. "I mean, this is pretty cool. People are talking about us. We're famous now." Peter groaned. "Famous? That's the last thing I wanted." They reached their lockers, and before they could even start unpacking their books, a group of students approached. Tony Revolori led the pack, his usual cocky swagger replaced by an almost begrudging curiosity. So, Tony began, crossing his arms. "You guys are, like, tech geniuses now? You really made Twitter." Ben shrugged nonchalantly. "Yeah, we did. It's no big deal." "No big deal?" Tony scoffed. "Everyone's talking about it. My cousin in California signed up last night. He said it's the coolest app he's ever used." Ned chimed in, puffing out his chest a little. "Well, we worked really hard on it. Took us a whole week." Tony blinked. "A week? You're kidding." Peter gave Ned a side eye, whispering, "Maybe don't make it sound that easy." Ben chuckled, leaning casually against his locker. "A lot of late nights and brainpower went into it. But yeah, we're glad people like it." As the trio sat down in their first period class, the chatter about Twitter only intensified. The teacher, Ms. Warren, walked in, holding a copy of the morning paper. "Well, it seems we have some celebrities in our midst," she said, glancing directly at Ben and Peter. The class erupted in cheers and claps, and someone shouted, "You guys should sign autographs." Peter buried his face in his hands. "This is so embarrassing," he muttered. Ben grinned, leaning back in his chair. "You'll survive, Peter. Just soak it in." Ms. Warren placed the newspaper on her desk, the headline reading, "High School Geniuses Behind Twitter, Revolutionizing Social Media." "While I'm impressed by your entrepreneurial spirit," she continued, "don't think this means you can slack off on your assignments. Fame doesn't excuse late homework." The class laughed, and Ben raised his hand. "Noted, Ms. Warren. We'll keep changing the world and turning in our assignments on time." When the lunch bell rang, Ben, Peter, and Ned barely made it to their table before being swarmed by classmates. Gwen Stacy and MJ Watson were at the front of the pack, their curiosity shining in their eyes. Gwen sat down across from them, her usual cool demeanor tinged with excitement. "All right, Spill. How did you guys pull this off? I mean, Twitter is everywhere already." MJ crossed her arms, her expression skeptical but intrigued. "Yeah, and don't say it was easy. There's no way you made something that big in a week without, like, some kind of secret sauce. Peter looked at Ben, silently pleading for him to take the lead. Ben leaned forward, his voice calm and confident. It wasn't easy, trust me. Peter and I spent every spare moment last week working on it. We handled everything: design, coding, testing, and we had help. Ned raised his hand dramatically. That's me. I'm the emotional support guy. And I tested stuff too. Gwen laughed. Emotional support, huh? Sounds about right. MJ tilted her head, her eyes narrowing. But seriously, how did you come up with the idea? Why Twitter? Ben shrugged. The world needed a platform for real-time communication. Something fast, simple, and open to everyone. We saw an opportunity and took it. Peter added, and it wasn't just about creating an app. We wanted to build something meaningful, something that could actually make a difference. Gwen smiled. Well, you definitely succeeded. I've been using it nonstop since last night. It's addictive. MJ smirked. Addictive and maybe dangerous. What if this blows up even bigger? You guys ready for that kind of responsibility? Ben's expression grew serious. We're ready. We've thought about the challenges: privacy, safety, misinformation. That's why we're constantly improving the platform. And if things get tough, we'll handle it. As the days passed, the buzz around Twitter grew. Students at Midtown High weren't just using the app, they were promoting it. Teachers discussed it in class, the local news covered it in glowing terms, and even other schools started talking about the Twitter geniuses. By the end of the week, Ben, Peter, and Ned found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of attention. While Peter struggled with the spotlight, Ben thrived, always ready with a confident answer or a clever remark. I can't believe this, Peter muttered one afternoon as they walked to their lockers. We're not just high school students anymore. We're something else. Ben clapped him on the shoulder. Relax, Peter. We've got this. And besides, this is only the beginning. Ned grinned. Yeah, next thing you know, we'll be on the cover of Time magazine. Peter groaned. Don't even joke about that. As the trio walked down the hallway, a group of students gathered around them, holding their phones. Someone shouted, Hey, what's next after Twitter? Ben turned, flashing a confident smile. Stay tuned. You never know what we'll come up with next. The final bell rang, and students poured out of Midtown High, their chatter filling the crisp afternoon air. Among the crowd, Ben, Peter, and Ned walked side by side, their usual banter masking the tension of their daily routine. Ever since Twitter had gone viral, the trio couldn't step outside without attracting attention. As they approached the school's front gates, they saw the usual crowd of reporters gathered on the sidewalk. Cameras flashed, microphones bobbed in the air, and voices rose as the media shouted questions, desperate for a soundbite. There they are, one reporter called. Ben, Peter, Ned, can we get a comment on Twitter's success? How does it feel to revolutionize social media while still in high school? What's next for you three geniuses? The trio ignored them, as they always did. They kept their heads down and walked toward the familiar black sedan parked by the curb, where Ben's father waited for them. The car was their daily sanctuary from the chaos. Same routine, Ben muttered. Just keep walking. Peter adjusted his backpack. I don't know how you deal with this every day, Ben. It's like being a celebrity without asking for it. Ned shrugged. At least they're not throwing tomatoes or something. Could be worse. Ben smirked. Trust me, Ned, it's getting old fast. As they neared the car, something unexpected happened. A surge of reporters pushed past the school's security guards, breaking through the barriers. Microphones and cameras surrounded the trio before they could react, and questions flew at them from all directions. Ben, do you think Twitter can maintain its success? Peter, is it true you're the brains behind the platform? Ned, are you just along for the ride? Amid the chaos, one reporter's voice cut through like a dagger. Ben, is it true your family's success is a fluke? Some people say your father's involvement is shady. The insult hit Ben like a slap. His jaw tightened, and his fist clenched. Peter noticed immediately and whispered, Ben, don't. They're just trying to provoke you. But it was too late. Ben grabbed his shoe, yanked it off, and hurled it at the reporter's face. The shoe struck with a satisfying thud, and the man stumbled back, stunned. That's for talking about my family, Ben shouted, his voice shaking with anger. The crowd gasped, cameras zoomed in, and the chaos reached a fever pitch. Before Ben could do anything more, his father appeared, cutting through the crowd like a storm. His face was stern, his presence commanding. He stepped between Ben and the reporters, his voice booming. "That's enough," he barked, his protective fury evident. "You have no right to harass my son like this." The reporters hesitated, their boldness faltering under his glare. "Ben, Peter, Ned, get in the car." "Now," Ben's father ordered, his tone leaving no room for argument. Peter and Ned quickly obeyed, tugging at Ben's sleeve to pull him toward the car. Ben hesitated for a moment, his chest heaving with residual anger, but finally relented. As they climbed into the car, security guards rushed to contain the reporters. The gates of the school were closed, and order was slowly restored. The trio sat in the back seat, the tension thick in the air. Ben stared out the window, his jaw tight, his fists still clenched. "Ben," his father said from the driver's seat, his voice calmer now but firm. "What were you thinking? You can't let them get to you like that." "They insulted our family," Ben snapped, his voice trembling. "They crossed the line." Peter placed a hand on Ben's shoulder. "I get it, Ben, but they're just looking for a reaction. You gave them exactly what they wanted." Ned nodded. "Yeah, now your shoe is probably trending on Twitter." Ben let out a frustrated laugh despite himself. "Great. That's just what I needed, #Shoegate." His father sighed. "Son, I know it's hard, but you have to rise above this. The more successful you become, the more people will try to tear you down. Don't let them win." Ben slumped in his seat, the weight of his father's words sinking in. "I'll try, but it's not easy." His father glanced at him in the rearview mirror, his expression softening. "No one said it would be. But you've got people who believe in you, me, your friends, your team. Don't let anger define you." As they drove away from the school, Ben pulled out his phone and opened Twitter. Sure enough, clips of the incident were already circulating online. One headline read, "Twitter genius loses cool, throws shoe at reporter." Ben groaned. "Well, this is just perfect." Peter leaned over to look at the screen. "Could be worse. At least they're not calling you a villain." Ned chuckled. "Yet, give it a few hours." Ben sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Guess I've got some damage control to do." Peter nodded. "We'll figure it out. Together." Ben, Peter, and Ben's parents sat in the living room, the television tuned to a news broadcast. The familiar face of Jonah Jameson filled the screen, his expression as fiery as his words. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jameson bellowed, "we've seen geniuses, and then we've seen reckless, hot-headed kids. Today, we're talking about one Ben Tennyson, the so-called genius behind Twitter, who thinks it's appropriate to attack the press. Is this who we want leading the next wave of innovation? A teenager who throws shoes at reporters." Ben's mother sighed, placing a hand on her son's shoulder. "Honey, this is getting out of hand. We need to do something before this escalates." Ben's father leaned forward, his face serious. "He's trying to drag your name through the mud, Ben. You can't ignore this forever." Peter, sitting beside Ben, frowned. "Jameson's like this with everyone. You should see how he treats Spider-Man." Ben chuckled dryly. "Yeah, he's consistent. I'll give him that." His mother shook her head. "This isn't funny, Ben. Your reputation is on the line." But Ben's face remained calm, even amused. "You don't have to worry. By tomorrow, they won't even remember this." His parents exchanged confused glances. "What do you mean?" his father asked. Ben stood, gesturing for Peter to follow him. "I mean, people's attention spans are short. All we have to do is give them something else to talk about. Trust me." Peter closed the door behind them as they entered Ben's room, where Baymax's holographic interface hummed to life. The walls were covered with sketches, prototypes, and mock-ups of apps and gadgets. Ben sat at his desk, his fingers tapping rhythmically on the table. "All right, Peter, we've got a PR problem, and I've got a solution." Peter raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." Ben smirked, pulling up a file on the hologram. "Instagram. Remember how we planned to launch it a few weeks after Twitter? Well, we're moving up the timeline." Peter blinked. "You want to launch Instagram? Now?" "Not the full app," Ben clarified. "Just a trailer. Something flashy, something viral. We'll upload it to Twitter and let the world focus on that instead of my showmanship." Peter crossed his arms, thinking it over. "A distraction. Makes sense. But do we even have a trailer ready?" Ben grinned. "Baymax, show the Instagram promo draft." The hologram shifted, displaying a sleek video clip. It featured vibrant transitions, dynamic text, and eye-catching visuals of people sharing photos, videos, and moments. The tagline at the end read, "Instagram, your world, your story." Peter's eyes widened. "That's actually amazing. How long have you been sitting on this?" Ben shrugged. "Baymax and I whipped it up a while ago. I just didn't think we'd need it so soon. Ben leaned back, a mischievous glint in his eye. Here's the plan. We upload the trailer to Twitter with a simple caption. Something big is coming. Stay tuned. The curiosity alone will shift the conversation. Peter nodded. And when people start talking about Instagram, they'll forget about the shoe incident. Exactly, Ben said, pulling up the Twitter interface. Baymax, prepare the video for upload. Optimize it for maximum engagement. Video optimized. Baymax confirmed. Ready for upload. Ben typed a quick caption. Your next favorite app is almost here. Stay tuned. Hashtag Instagram, hashtag coming soon. He clicked tweet, and the post went live. Peter leaned over his shoulder. Now what? Now, Ben said with a smirk. We wait. It didn't take long. Within minutes, notifications began pouring in. Likes, retweets, and comments flooded the post, and the hashtags hashtag Instagram and hashtag coming soon started trending. Peter whistled. That's fast. People are eating this up. Ben grinned. Told you. People love new things. By tomorrow morning, every tech blog and news outlet will be talking about Instagram, not me. Ben and Peter returned to the living room, where his parents were still discussing the situation. Did you figure something out? His father asked. Ben nodded. Handled. Just watch the news tomorrow. You'll see. His mother looked skeptical. Are you sure, Ben? This seems like a lot to gamble on. Ben smiled confidently. Trust me, Mom. I know how people think. As predicted, the following day brought a completely different media storm. News channels, websites, and social media were buzzing about the Instagram trailer. On one channel, a tech analyst exclaimed, "The team behind Twitter is at it again. Their next app, Instagram, promises to change the way we share our lives online. This could be the biggest innovation since, well, Twitter." Even Jameson begrudgingly mentioned it on his show. Now, I'm not one to praise these kids, but it seems they've got another app up their sleeves. Instagram, huh? Let's just hope it's not as reckless as their CEO. Ben's father turned to him with an impressed look. I don't know how you did it, but you were right. They've completely forgotten about yesterday. Ben shrugged, hiding a grin. Told you. People just need something new to talk about. Peter leaned over. You're scary good at this, you know that? Ben smirked. It's not about being scary. It's about staying ahead of the curve. Ben and Peter sat in the back seat of Ben's father's car, scrolling through the flood of tweets and comments about the Instagram trailer. The video had gone viral, and the reactions were pouring in. Ben chuckled, tilting his phone to show Peter. Look at this one. Instagram looks like it's about to change the game. Can't wait to see what Ben Parker cooks up next. Peter smirked. Here's another. First Twitter, now Instagram? Are these guys even human? Absolute legends. Ben laughed. I like that one. Oh, this one's good. Instagram. Your world, your story. Finally, an app that's going to make my boring life look interesting. Peter shook his head, scrolling through his phone. Not all of them are praised, though. Here's a spicy one. Another social media app? Great. Just what we need. More ways to pretend our lives are perfect. Ben shrugged. Haters gonna hate. They'll still download it. Peter read another comment aloud. If Ben Tennyson is behind it, I'm sold. The guy's a genius, even if he does have a shoe-throwing habit. Ben snorted. Hey, I stand by that throw. The reporter deserved it. Peter chuckled. Yeah, but now it's a meme. Look at this tweet. Ben Tennyson, inventor, innovator, sharpshooter. Hashtag shoegate. Ben rolled his eyes, though a grin tugged at his lips. Let them have their fun. The important thing is, Instagram's getting the buzz it needs. As the car neared the school, the scene outside the gates came into view. Reporters crowded the front entrance, cameras flashing, microphones waving in the air. Several NYPD officers stood in a line, holding the crowd back. Peter groaned. Great. It's a circus again. Ben's father frowned as he slowed the car. I thought the cops were supposed to keep them off school property. They are, Ben said, his tone resigned. But reporters can be persistent. The car stopped near the gate, and two officers approached to escort them. As Ben and Peter stepped out, a swarm of questions erupted from the reporters. Ben, what inspired the Instagram trailer? Peter, are you involved in the development too? Ben, do you think Instagram will surpass Twitter in popularity? One particularly loud reporter shouted. Ben, how do you respond to claims that you're too young to handle this kind of responsibility? Ben stopped, his expression calm but firm. He raised his hand to signal for quiet, and the crowd momentarily hushed. He smirked slightly, his voice steady as he said, Instagram. your world, your story. You'll see it soon enough. Before anyone could ask a follow-up, Ben and Peter moved toward the school entrance, flanked by the officers. Inside the classroom, the buzz was no less intense. Students crowded around Ben and Peter's desks, firing off questions before they could even sit down. Ben, is Instagram really going to be as big as Twitter? Peter, did you help code the app? Can we see the trailer again? I missed it last night. Ben held up his hands, laughing. All right, calm down. One question at a time. Gwen leaned on her desk, raising an eyebrow. What we all really want to know is, when do we get to use it? MJ smirked from the seat next to her. Yeah, Ben, you can't just drop a trailer like that and leave us hanging. Ben exchanged a glance with Peter, who shrugged as if to say, why not? Ben grinned. All right, here's the deal. Since you're all my classmates, you'll get early access to Instagram. Think of it as a beta test. The class erupted in cheers and applause. Seriously, Gwen said, her eyes lighting up. That's awesome. MJ crossed her arms, pretending to be unimpressed. It better be good, Parker. I've got high standards. Ben chuckled. Don't worry, MJ. You'll love it. Peter added, just remember, it's still a test version. So if you find any bugs, let us know. As the final bell rang, Ben, Peter, and Ned headed out of the school together. The scene outside was even more chaotic than in the morning. Reporters had pushed past the initial police barriers, their cameras and microphones aimed like weapons. Ben sighed. Here we go again. The trio moved toward Ben's father's car, but the reporters surged forward, breaking through the security line. Ben, are you planning to launch Instagram globally, or just in the US first? Peter, how do you feel about working with someone as controversial as Ben? Ben, how does your family feel about all this attention? One reporter's voice rose above the rest, dripping with disdain. Ben, are you using your family's shoddy reputation to boost your career? Ben froze. His jaw tightened, and his face turned red with anger. Without thinking, he slipped off his shoe and hurled it at the reporter, hitting them squarely in the chest. The crowd gasped, and a murmur rippled through the group. Maybe learn some manners next time. Ben snapped, his voice sharp. Before he could do anything else, his father appeared, grabbing him by the shoulder. That's enough, Ben, he said firmly. Ben's father ushered the boys into the car while security and police pushed the reporters back. The car sped away, leaving the chaos behind. The ride home was quiet at first, tension hanging in the air. Ben's father finally broke the silence. Ben, I know you're frustrated, but you can't let them get to you like that. Ben crossed his arms, staring out the window. They crossed the line. Peter tried to lighten the mood. At least your aim is good. Ben smirked slightly. Yeah, maybe I should join the baseball team. Ned laughed nervously. Well, if this whole tech mobile thing doesn't work out, you've got a backup career. Ben's father sighed but couldn't help a small smile. Just try to keep your shoes on next time, all right? Ben nodded, his expression softening. All right, Dad. I'll try. As they drove off, the boys began discussing plans for the next phase of Instagram, their determination undeterred by the day's events. It's only a joke these part of him throwing shoes again is just for fun. Twitter's launch was not just a technological marvel, but a financial success that catapulted Ben Tennyson into the spotlight as a young entrepreneur. Within a month of Twitter going live, the platform had attracted millions of users, and its monetization strategy was already bearing fruit. Twitter's primary income came from advertisements. Brands, both big and small, began buying ad space to promote their products and services. These ads appeared as promoted tweets, trending topics, and suggested accounts. Ben and Peter had integrated a sophisticated algorithm that allowed advertisers to target specific demographics, ensuring higher engagement rates. Example, a local bakery could promote a tweet to users in their area who followed food-related accounts. Earnings. By the end of the first month, Twitter had raked in $2.5 million from advertising. Ben introduced a subscription model called Twitter Blue, offering premium features like editing tweets, customizable themes, and exclusive analytics for businesses. Monthly fee, $5 per user. Subscribers in the first month. Over 500,000 users signed up, generating $2.5 million. Another significant revenue stream was data licensing. Twitter's trending data and user insights became valuable to market researchers and advertisers. Ben ensured that all data shared was anonymized to maintain user privacy. Earnings, $1.5 million in the first month. Companies partnered with Twitter to host exclusive events, live Q&A sessions, and other promotional campaigns. These partnerships brought in an additional $1 million. By the end of the first month, Twitter had generated a staggering $7.5 million in revenue. After accounting for reinvestments, Ben and Peter had made a net profit of $5 million. After their success with Twitter, Ben and Peter sat in Ben's room, brainstorming Instagram. The holographic interface Baymax projected on the wall displayed their notes and ideas. Peter tapped his chin thoughtfully. All right, so Instagram is going to focus on visual content. Photos and videos are the primary mediums, but we need to make it unique. Ben nodded. We'll center it around storytelling. People won't just upload random photos. They'll share their lives, their passions. Hence the tagline, your world, your story. Features. Peter asked, typing on his laptop. Photo sharing, video uploads, filters, stories that disappear after 24 hours, and a strong focus on hashtags and explore pages, Ben listed. Peter raised an eyebrow. Stories? You're thinking ahead. Ben smirked. If we're going to change the game, we need to innovate. The next 2 days were spent designing the user interface UI. Instagram needs to be visually appealing, Ben said, sketching mock-ups on his tablet. People are here for the aesthetics. Peter worked on turning the mock-ups into a functional prototype. The app featured a home feed displaying photos and videos from followed accounts, a bottom navigation bar with icons for home, search, post, activity, and profile, a dedicated explore page with trending posts and suggested users. By the end of day 3, they had a basic UI prototype ready. With the UI taking shape, they turned their attention to the back end. Baymax, create a database structure, Ben instructed. Baymax displayed a relational database, users table, to store usernames, emails, passwords, and profile information. Posts table, for photos, videos, captions, and timestamps. Stories table, for temporary posts with expiration timestamps. Likes and comments tables, to track user engagement. Peter worked on creating a robust API for the app. We need endpoints for uploading photos, fetching feeds, and handling likes and comments. Ben added, and we'll use a content delivery network, CDN, to ensure media loads quickly, no matter where users are. Testing began on day 6. Baymax simulated thousands of users uploading photos, scrolling feeds, and interacting with posts. Peter monitored the system. No lag so far, but the CDN integration needs tweaking. Some images are taking too long to load. Ben nodded. Baymax, prioritize media files for high-traffic regions during peak hours. Understood, Baymax replied, adjusting the settings. With the core functionality complete, they added advanced features. People love enhancing their photos, Ben said. We'll offer filters and basic editing tools like cropping, brightness, and contrast adjustments. Stories became a reality with Baymax's help, allowing users to post temporary photos and videos. Peter integrated a notification system to alert users about likes, comments, and new followers. After the backlash we faced with Twitter, we need better moderation tools, Ben said. They implemented a reporting system for inappropriate content, AI-powered moderation to flag harmful posts automatically. On the final day, they polished the app, optimizing performance and fixing bugs. Ben leaned back in his chair, admiring their work. It's beautiful. People are going to love this. Peter grinned. We've done it again. Ready to launch? Ben couldn't hide his excitement as he walked into the classroom, clutching a tablet and his phone with Instagram loaded on them. He had promised his classmates early access, and today was the day to make good on that promise. As Ben and Peter entered the classroom, they were met with a buzz of curiosity. Ned followed close behind, his face lit up with anticipation. All right, everyone, Ben said, raising his voice to get their attention. Remember how I promised you early access to something big? Well, here it is. He held up his phone, displaying the Instagram app's sleek interface. Instagram? One of the students asked, leaning forward. What's that? Peter grinned and took over. It's a new app Ben and I have been working on. Think of it as a place to share your photos and videos, add cool filters, and even share stories that disappear after 24 hours. Ben pulled out a few printed QR codes from his bag and handed them out. Scan these, and you'll get access to the beta version. But keep it quiet. This is just for you guys. Don't go sharing it around yet. As the students downloaded the app and began exploring, the room filled with gasps and chatter. This is amazing, one exclaimed, scrolling through the Explore page. It's so smooth, and these filters are awesome. MJ nodded in agreement. This feels so different from Twitter. It's more personal, more creative. Wait, I can post a story right now, a classmate asked. This is insane. Ben chuckled. Go for it. That's what it's for. Ned, already immersed in the app, pointed at his phone. Guys, look at this filter. It makes my face look like a cartoon. This is going to be so popular. Peter leaned toward Ben and whispered, they're loving it. This might be even bigger than Twitter. Later that evening, Ben sat in the living room with his parents and younger sister, Emily. Peter had joined them, eager to see their reactions. All right, everyone, Ben said, holding up his phone. Peter and I have been working on something new. Meet Instagram. He passed his phone to Emily first, who was immediately drawn to the colorful interface. Wow, this is so cool, she said, swiping through the Explore page. Can I post something? Sure, Ben said. Take a photo and upload it. Emily quickly snapped a picture of the family's dog and uploaded it, applying a playful filter. This is so much fun. Can I get it on my phone? Ben laughed. Not yet, but soon. His parents, however, were more focused on the business side. So this is what you've been working on after Twitter? His father asked, his tone both impressed and curious. Yeah, Ben said. It's all about sharing moments, making it easy and fun for people to connect visually. His mother smiled. You're really onto something, Ben. This feels like something everyone will want to use. Peter chimed in, and it's not just about fun. We've built in some serious tech to make sure it's fast, secure, and accessible. Later, Ben and Peter sat in Ben's room with Ned, who was still glued to his phone, exploring Instagram. Dude, this is going to blow up, Ned said. It's like you took the best parts of every app and made them better. That's the idea, Ben said, leaning back. It's all about making something that feels fresh and intuitive. Ned looked up, grinning. Do you realize what's going to happen when this goes live? Everyone's going to be on it. And when they find out it was made by two high schoolers. Mind blown. The next day at school, Ben and Peter were swarmed by their classmates, all eager to share their thoughts on Instagram. This is way better than Twitter, one of them exclaimed. I love how the stories disappear after a day. It makes everything feel more spontaneous, another added. One approached Ben with a curious look. So, when does the rest of the world get to see this? Soon, Ben said, a sly grin on his face. We're just ironing out a few things. But when it's ready, you'll know. Ben and Peter knew that Instagram's success depended on creating massive anticipation. To achieve this, they carefully planned a series of teaser videos, leveraging Twitter's popularity and expanding into TV ads. Each video had a unique theme, designed to captivate different audiences and spark curiosity. The first teaser video dropped on Twitter with no warning. It opened with a soothing voiceover. Life is made of moments. Some we capture, some we share, and some we create. Quick clips of a sunrise, friends laughing, pets playing, and a child blowing out birthday candles filled the screen, evoking warmth and nostalgia. The video ended with a simple message, Instagram, coming soon. Your moments, your way. Ben posted it with the hashtag Instagram launch. Within minutes, Twitter exploded with reactions at life captured. This gave me chills. Can't wait to see what Instagram is all about. At Mom Goals, finally, an app that focuses on moments. This is going to be huge. At TechBuzz, these kids are unstoppable. First Twitter, now this? What's next? Teleportation. Peter leaned back, grinning. I think they liked it. Ben smirked. Liked it? They're already hooked. Let's keep the momentum going. 2 days later, the second teaser launched. It began with a dull, gray photo of a beach that instantly transformed into a vibrant, filtered image. The voiceover said, see the world through a different lens. Share it with the world. The video showcased how Instagram's filters could transform ordinary moments into extraordinary ones, ending with a countdown. 5 days to go. The response was electric at Artistic Soul. Filters that don't look overdone? Sign me up. Hashtag Instagram launch at Travel Vibes. I'm going to make my vacation pics look stunning. Who's ready for Instagram? At PhotoPro, as a photographer, I can already tell this is going to be addictive. 3 days before the launch, Ben and Peter released the third teaser, focusing on Instagram's Stories feature. The video showed snippets of someone's day. A morning coffee, a walk in the park, a sunset, and a movie night. The voiceover added, some stories are too good to keep forever. Share them for a day, and let the world see your magic. The clip ended with the tagline, your day, your way. Instagram, launching in 3 days. Public reaction was overwhelming at Daily Storyteller. Stories that vanish after 24 hours? This is genius. At Blogger Vibes, this feature is going to change the way influencers work. I'm ready. At Trendwatcher, 3 days to go, and I'm already obsessed. Instagram is all I can think about. The final teaser launched the day before Instagram's debut. It featured emotional scenes of people connecting, a family video calling, friends tagging each other in posts, and a couple sharing a memory. It's not just about sharing photos, the voiceover said. It's about sharing you. The screen faded to reveal the timer. 1 day to go. The teaser struck a chord at Family First. I teared up watching this. Instagram is going to bring people closer together. At Love Connects, this isn't just an app, it's a movement. Can't wait for tomorrow. At Connected World, Instagram's teasers have been masterpieces. These kids know how to build hype. To reach a broader audience, been invested in TV ads and billboards. The commercials mirrored the teaser videos, but added a new layer of excitement by showing the Instagram logo in vibrant animations. One TV ad showcased people uploading photos and sharing stories with a tagline: Capture, Share, Connect. Instagram launches this Friday. The public reaction to the TV commercials was phenomenal. Social media buzzed with comments like at TV Lover, just saw the Instagram ad on TV. My whole family is hyped now. At City Billboards, everywhere I go, I see Instagram billboards. These guys are taking over. At Ad Critic, these ads are on par with the biggest tech launches. Genius marketing. Ben added a countdown timer to Twitter's homepage, and every user was greeted with the ticking clock. It built a sense of urgency, especially with the message, something amazing is coming. Stay tuned. The timer became a trending topic itself, with hashtags like #Instagram Countdown and #Coming Soon dominating the platform. Finally, the day arrived. The countdown timer on Twitter hit 0, and a celebratory animation filled the screen, directing users to download Instagram. Fireworks exploded across the interface, and the #Instagram launch shot to the top of the trending list. Public reactions poured in at launch day. Instagram is live, and it's everything I hoped for. Filters, stories, and more. At Trendsetters, day 1, and Instagram is already my favorite app. These kids are brilliant. At Future Tech, this is the biggest app launch of the year. Instagram is here to stay. Within hours, Instagram hit 1 million downloads. Tech blogs, news channels, and influencers raved about the app. Ben and Peter watched in awe as their creation took on a life of its own. Ben leaned back in his chair, grinning. "Peter, we just changed the game. Again." Peter nodded, scrolling through the endless tweets and posts. And the best part? We're just getting started. News anchors covered the launch extensively. The masterminds behind Twitter have done it again. Instagram is taking the world by storm. With over 1 million downloads in its first day, Instagram proves it's here to dominate the social media space. The launch of Instagram was more than just a tech event, it was a cultural shift. Within a week, it became an integral part of people's routines. Across the world, individuals and businesses embraced the platform, each using it in unique and creative ways. For millions, the day now began with Instagram. Coffee lovers snapped artistic photos of their steaming mugs, adding filters like golden glow or warm breeze to perfect their shots. Fitness enthusiasts shared stories of their morning jogs, their sneakers pounding against scenic trails. From early risers to those still lying in bed, Instagram became the go-to app for connecting with the world before the first sip of coffee. At Morning Bliss, my sunrise runs look magical with Instagram's filters. Totally hooked. At Daily Brew, best part of my morning? Capturing my coffee art and sharing it with the world. Photographers, designers, and content creators flocked to Instagram in droves. The app gave them a powerful platform to showcase their work. Aspiring chefs posted recipes accompanied by tantalizing images of gourmet meals, while painters and sculptors shared time-lapse videos of their creations. Small businesses also quickly realized Instagram's potential. Boutiques displayed their latest clothing lines, bakeries posted daily specials, and tech startups teased upcoming products through stories and posts. At Art Vibes, I sold 2 paintings today through Instagram. Can't believe how fast my art is reaching people. At Sweet Bites Bakery, thanks to Instagram, our cupcakes sold out in hours. People keep messaging us for more. Celebrities and influencers were some of Instagram's most enthusiastic adopters. Actors shared behind-the-scenes glimpses from movie sets, musicians posted snippets of their rehearsals, and influencers used stories to connect directly with fans. The app gave them a way to bypass traditional media and speak directly to their audience. Instagram's meteoric rise set off alarm bells in boardrooms across the globe. Established social media platforms like Facebook and MySpace found their user engagement plummeting. Users were abandoning old platforms in favor of Instagram's sleek design, innovative features, and vibrant community. News channels and tech blogs were flooded with headlines. Stark Industries. Tony Stark wasn't one to be outdone. As someone who loved being in the spotlight, he appreciated Instagram's potential to amplify his brand. Stark Industries launched a verified account showcasing cutting-edge technology and updates about new projects. However, Stark couldn't help but see the strategic value of owning Instagram. One day, Ben received an unexpected call. Ben Tennyson. Tony's voice drawled through the line. "You're the kid who built Twitter and Instagram, right?" Yeah." Ben replied cautiously. "Here's the deal. I'll buy Instagram and Twitter for, let's say, $5 billion. Cash. What do you say?" Ben chuckled nervously. "I think I'll pass, Mr. Stark." "Smart kid," Tony replied. "But if you ever change your mind, call me." Oscorp. Norman Osborn took a different approach. He saw Instagram's potential to dominate not just social media, but also advertising. Oscorp launched aggressive ad campaigns on the platform, promoting their latest tech and products. Meanwhile, Osborn himself sent emissaries to negotiate a deal to buy Instagram, offering a staggering $8 billion. Ben refused. "Your loss, kid," Osborn muttered. Roxxon Corporation, Roxxon, known for its ruthless tactics, wasn't thrilled about Instagram empowering small businesses. Their monopolistic hold on certain markets was slipping as smaller competitors thrived on the platform. Roxxon began funding rival apps to compete with Instagram, but none of them gained traction. When news broke that Stark Industries, Oscorp, and Roxxon had tried to acquire Instagram, the public's reaction was overwhelming. On Twitter, the hashtags #KeepInstagramIndependent and #BenTennysonOT trended for days. At Small Biz Hero, Ben refusing to sell Instagram is the best thing I've heard all week. Finally, someone who cares about users. At TechCritic22, if Stark, Osborn, and Roxxon all want Instagram, you know it's a game changer. Ben's a genius. Ben and Peter watched the unfolding drama from their room. Peter glanced at his phone, scrolling through tweets. "You know, with all these offers, people probably think we're billionaires already." Ben grinned. "Well, they're not entirely wrong. But Instagram isn't about the money. It's about changing how people connect." Peter smirked. "Still, turning down $8 billion? Bold move." Ben shrugged. "If we sold, they'd ruin it. Instagram's ours, and it's going to stay that way." As the week progressed, Instagram's growth continued to skyrocket. New features rolled out to keep users engaged, including live streaming and a collaborative post feature. People loved the app, and businesses thrived on its advertising tools. Vivid and chaotic, Fury found himself standing in the middle of a massive industrial factory, its steel walls vibrating as though an earthquake had struck. Before him, two colossal monsters were locked in combat. The first was a dinosaur-like giant, towering above the factory's machinery, its powerful tail smashing through support beams like they were twigs. Its glowing green eyes burned with fury, and a circular emblem on its chest, a green hourglass-like symbol, pulsed with an otherworldly glow. Opposing it was a grotesque, shadowy creature, its form shifting like smoke but striking with devastating physical force. The factory floor crumbled beneath their weight as they exchanged thunderous blows. Sparks and flames erupted around them as the factory's machinery exploded from the sheer force of their battle. The scene shifted abruptly. Gunfire crackled in the night, soldiers shouting orders as they fired relentlessly. Fury was among them, crouched behind cover, yelling for reinforcements. The shadowy creature loomed in the distance, tearing through the ranks like a force of nature. Fury felt a searing pain in his side and collapsed to the ground. Another flash. Someone, he couldn't see their face, was dragging him through the chaos, shouting something he couldn't quite make out. His vision blurred, his senses dulled by the intensity of the moment. The final image struck like lightning. The dinosaur-like giant, silhouetted against the backdrop of a fiery inferno, let out a deafening roar. The circular emblem on its chest glowed brightly, the light cutting through the smoke and darkness. The roar echoed, filling Fury's mind as everything faded to black. Nick Fury shot upright in bed, his breaths quick and shallow. Beads of sweat ran down his face as he tried to steady himself. He looked around the darkened room, his heart racing. That dream again. He muttered, his voice a mix of frustration and unease. He reached for the drawer of his nightstand and pulled out a small, weathered photo. He held it up to the dim light of his bedside lamp. The photograph showed Howard Stark, his signature confident smirk firmly in place. Beside him stood a man dressed in futuristic, high-tech armor, sleek and radiant. The armor was painted in bold red and green tones with glowing highlights. The figure's helmet, sharp and angular, concealed their face completely. I will upload image here. Fury stared at the picture, his brow furrowing. He tapped the high-tech figure lightly with his finger and whispered, after so many years, that shapeshifter has been seen again. He exhaled sharply, leaning back in his chair as memories of the past began to surface. Howard Stark, my old friend, Fury said softly, his voice heavy with suspicion. What things have you hidden from me? And why? He placed the photo on the table and looked out the window. The city skyline sparkled in the distance, but Fury's mind was far from the present. The symbol, the roar, the giant shapeshifter, it was all connected, and Fury knew it. It's time to dig into the past, he said, his voice resolute. And this time, I'm getting answers. After a month of grueling exams, Ben finally had a moment to call Peter over to his house. Peter arrived, still tired from the mental drain of the exams, but curious about why Ben had called him over so urgently. Ben sat on the couch, casually munching on an apple, his laptop open in front of him, spreadsheets and graphs displayed on the screen. Peter raised an eyebrow. What's up, Ben? You look like you're cooking up something big. Ben smirked. Oh, it's big all right. But before that, let me ask you something. Did you notice anything odd recently? Like, people tailing us? Peter's expression shifted to a more serious tone. He nodded. Yeah, actually, I did. At first, I thought it was someone figuring out my Spider-Man identity or maybe the media being nosy again. But after digging around, I found out something strange. Ben leaned forward, intrigued. Go on. Peter continued. Those people? They're not from the media. They're representatives from big companies. Some are spies from rival corporations, and others directly approached me. They've been persistent. A few even tried to push me into convincing you to sell Twitter and Instagram. They're being way more aggressive than I expected. Ben's eyes narrowed, though his expression remained calm. He tossed the apple core into a nearby trash bin and leaned back on the couch. I figured as much. We've created something huge, Peter. Something that's shaking the ground under these corporate giants. They see us as kids, easy to intimidate or manipulate. But that's not happening. Peter tilted his head, confused. So, what's your plan? We're not exactly billionaires with security teams to protect us from these vultures. What are you thinking, Ben? Ben's smirk widened. I'm thinking of selling. Peter's jaw dropped. Wait, what? You're selling? Are you serious? Not the whole thing. Ben waved his hand dismissively. Relax, Pete. I'm not stupid. I'm talking about selling a minority stake, just 20%. And not to those leeches. To Stark Industries. Peter blinked in surprise. Stark Industries? Why them? Ben's expression turned sharp and calculating. Because bringing Stark Industries into the picture does two things. First, it puts a giant wall of protection around us. They're not just a tech company. They've got military backing, government ties, and enough clout to scare off anyone trying to strong-arm us. Second, it keeps anyone else from getting a piece of the pie. Once Stark is in, no one's going to risk crossing them. Peter nodded slowly, processing the idea. Okay, that makes sense. But why sell it all? Why not keep it 100% yours? Ben stood up, pacing the room as he spoke. Because I need capital, Pete. Big capital. I've got plans, huge plans, but to make them a reality, I need a financial push. Selling 20% of Twitter and Instagram to Stark will give me the funding I need to kickstart those projects without compromising full ownership. Peter crossed his arms. Still, it's a big move. Are you sure about this? Ben turned to him, grinning. Oh, I'm more than sure. And before I forget, there's one more thing. Peter raised an eyebrow. What now? Ben casually sat back down and said, I'm giving you 20%. Peter froze, staring at Ben like he'd just grown a second head. Wait. What? Ben? No. You've already been paying me for the work I've done. Most of this success is because of you. You've been the one coming up with the ideas, executing the plans. Ben shook his head firmly. Nope. Don't even start with that. Your help has been invaluable. You've been there from the beginning, working with me, brainstorming, troubleshooting, everything. This is as much your success as it is mine. Peter opened his mouth to protest, but Ben cut him off. And besides, it's only 20% of Twitter and Instagram, not my future company. I'll still have control over everything. This is just my way of making sure you get what you deserve. Peter sighed, running a hand through his hair. You're insane? You know that? Ben grinned. That's why it works. Peter shook his head, a small smile creeping onto his face. Fine, but you're not going to convince me to take more than I deserve. Ben shrugged. We'll see about that. Peter chuckled, sitting back in his chair. So, what's the next step? Ben took another bite of a fresh apple he'd grabbed. Well, I've already reached out to Stark Industries. If everything goes smoothly, the deal should be finalized soon. And once we get the funding, I'm going to start working on my new project. Peter raised an eyebrow. New project? What is it? Ben winked. You'll find out soon enough. Peter rolled his eyes. Of course. And what about school? You think we'll have time for all this? Ben leaned back, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Oh, I almost forgot to mention. I'm planning to take my exams early this year and finish school ahead of schedule. Peter blinked. What? You're leaving school? Yes, Ben said. But let's be real, Pete. With everything we've got going on, I won't have time to sit in a classroom all day. Finishing school early lets me focus entirely on my projects. Plus, I don't think the teachers will miss me that much. Peter laughed. Yeah, I can see that. The plane touched down in California, and as Ben and his father stepped off, they were met by a familiar face. Happy Hogan leaned against a sleek black car, arms crossed, his no-nonsense expression giving way to a polite nod. You're Ben, right? Happy asked, shaking hands. Yeah, that's me, Ben replied, returning the handshake. Happy turned to Carl, extending his hand as well. Mr. Tennyson, I'm Happy Hogan. Mr. Stark sent me to make sure you get here in one piece. Carl chuckled. That's reassuring. Good to meet you, Happy. As they slid into the car, Happy glanced at Ben in the rearview mirror. Stark's been talking about you. Twitter, Instagram, shaking up the internet. Impressive stuff for a kid. Ben smirked. Kid or not, someone had to make the internet useful. Happy chuckled but didn't push further, focusing on the road. Meeting Pepper Potts when they arrived at Stark Industries, Pepper Potts was already waiting for them in the lobby. Her polished demeanor and efficient air made it clear she ran the place. Ben and Carl Tennyson, she asked, offering a handshake. That's us, Carl replied, shaking her hand. Pepper turned to Ben, appraising him. Tony's been eager for this meeting, though I'm sure he won't say it outright. He doesn't usually take an interest in social media. He wouldn't be the first to underestimate its potential, Ben said with a shrug. Pepper smiled. Follow me. I'll take you to him. As they walked through the building, Ben noted the sleek design and the hum of cutting-edge machinery. But instead of awe, his expression was neutral, even slightly critical. Pepper caught his look and raised an eyebrow. Not impressed. It's decent, Ben replied casually. I've worked with better tech in my garage. Pepper blinked, taken aback for a moment, before laughing. Tony's going to love you. They were ushered into a spacious office where Tony Stark lounged on a couch, flipping through a folder, and Obadiah Stane stood by the window, exuding authority. Tony looked up, his sharp gaze landing on Ben. The infamous Ben Tennyson. You could wonder, disruptor of the social media space. Or, as Obi called you, a young punk with good timing. Obadiah chuckled, walking over to shake Kirby's hand. You'll have to excuse Tony. He's still working on his manners. But I'll admit, we've been intrigued by what you've done, Ben. Ben ignored the flattery, locking eyes with Tony. Let's skip the introductions. You want a stake in my platforms. I'm here to see if you're worth it. Tony smirked, leaning back on the couch. I like your confidence. Reminds me of me. He gestured to the seats across from him. Sit. Let's talk. Ben and his father sat down, and the conversation began. Tony started, leaning forward with a curious expression. So, you've got Twitter and Instagram. Huge user bases, massive influence. Why Stark Industries? Why not one of the other companies throwing themselves at you? Because you're not like them, Ben replied smoothly. They want control. You want innovation. Partnering with you doesn't just keep the sharks at bay. It gives me breathing room to work on other projects without dealing with boardrooms full of suits who don't get it. Obadiah interjected. You're not wrong about the sharks. But that kind of breathing room comes at a price. What exactly are you offering? 20% of Twitter and Instagram combined, Ben said. I keep operational control. You get board seats, analytics access, and an exclusive tech partnership. Tony raised an eyebrow. And what's the sticker price for this exclusive partnership? Ben didn't hesitate. $1.2 billion. Obadiah let out a low whistle. That's a hefty ask for two platforms that are still relatively new. Ben met his gaze. Relatively new, but already indispensable. We've already shaped how people connect. Give it a year, and these platforms will be the foundation of the digital world. The question isn't whether they're worth it. The question is whether you want a piece before it's too late. Tony grinned, clearly enjoying the back and forth. You've got guts, I'll give you that. But Stark Industries doesn't just throw money around. If we're buying in, we want more than just a stake. We want integration. Your tech meets ours. Let's see what we can build together. Ben leaned back, considering. I can work with that, within limits. The platforms stay independent. But if you've got ideas for new features or technologies, I'm listening. Pepper chimed in, her voice calm and measured. It sounds like there's potential here, but we'd need assurances about data privacy and scalability. Stark Industries has a reputation to maintain. Ben smirked. So do I. Don't worry, your reputation's safe. After some more back and forth, they finally settled on terms. Stark Industries would pay $1.2 billion for a 20% stake in Twitter and Instagram, with an agreement to collaborate on future technologies. In return, Ben would retain full operational control of the platforms, while Stark Industries would gain exclusive rights to certain analytics and tech integrations. As they shook hands to seal the deal, Tony looked at Ben with newfound respect. You're sharp, kid. Don't let it go to your head. Ben grinned. I could say the same to you. As they left the office, Obadiah walked over to Carl, clapping him on the shoulder. Your son's going places, Kirby. He reminds me of Tony when he was younger. Brilliant, fearless, and just a little bit reckless. Kirby smiled. He's always been ahead of the curve. Pepper walked Ben and Carl to the elevator, giving Ben a nod. You handled that well. Tony doesn't usually agree to deals without dragging them out for weeks. Ben shrugged. I guess he knows a good opportunity when he sees one. As the elevator doors slid shut and Ben and his father left, Pepper returned to the office where Tony was pouring himself a drink. Obadiah had already excused himself, muttering something about another meeting, leaving Tony and Pepper alone. Well, Tony said, swirling the glass in his hand. What do you think of the kid? Pepper folded her arms, leaning against the doorway. Honestly, he's impressive. And not just for his age. Tony raised an eyebrow, intrigued by her tone. Go on. Pepper stepped into the office, her heels clicking softly on the polished floor. He's not just smart, he's strategic. Confident, but not cocky. And he knows his worth, which is rare for someone his age. You saw how he handled that negotiation. He didn't let you steamroll him. Tony smirked, taking a sip of his drink. Yeah, I noticed. Most people get all wide-eyed and jittery when they sit across from me. But not him. He didn't even flinch. Almost makes me wonder if he's human. Pepper chuckled. Oh, he's human, all right. But I think you're underestimating him, Tony. Tony tilted his head, intrigued. Underestimating how? Pepper walked over to his desk, picking up a tablet. She tapped a few times before showing Tony a series of images and schematics. I looked into him before today's meeting. You should see some of the things he's built. In his garage, no less. It was Ben who let them see to make his image. The tech he showed are some years ahead and can't be copied. Tony took the tablet, scanning the images. His eyebrows rose slightly as he saw blueprints, prototypes, and even finished devices, some of which were eerily sophisticated. He built this in his garage? Tony asked, his tone a mix of surprise and skepticism. Pepper nodded. Yes. And from what I can tell, most of it was built with scrap parts and basic tools. No billion-dollar labs, no corporate funding. Just his brain and a lot of determination. Tony stared at the images for a moment longer before setting the tablet down. Okay, that's impressive. More than impressive, Pepper said. Some of this tech is years ahead of what most companies are working on right now. He may not have your resources, but he's got your drive. And if I didn't know better, I'd say he has your creativity, too. Tony leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful look on his face. So, what you're saying is, I've got competition? Pepper gave him a wry smile. I'm saying you might want to keep an eye on him. He's young, but he's already making waves. And if he keeps this up, who knows what he'll accomplish? Tony let out a low chuckle, shaking his head. You're not wrong, Potts. The kid's got potential, but he's also got a long way to go before he's playing in my league. Pepper raised an eyebrow. Maybe. Tony didn't respond immediately, instead picking up the tablet again and scrolling through Ben's designs. For a brief moment, a flicker of something crossed his face. He's good, Tony finally admitted. Really good. But let's see how he handles the big leagues. Genius or not, the real test is whether he can keep up when the stakes get higher. Pepper smiled, knowing that was Tony's way of admitting he was impressed. Well, if today's meeting was any indication, I think he'll do just fine. As she turned to leave, Tony called after her. Pepper. She paused, looking back. Keep an eye on him, Tony said, his tone serious. I've got a feeling this isn't the last time we'll be crossing paths with Ben Tennyson. Pepper nodded. Already ahead of you. With that, she left the room, leaving Tony alone with his thoughts. After arriving home from California, Ben walked into the living room where his family was waiting. His mother was seated on the couch, his sister sprawled out on the floor with a book. Ben's father had just walked in from the kitchen. Well, Ben said, trying to sound nonchalant, we did it. The deal's done. We're officially billionaires. His mother's face lit up with joy, and she immediately rushed to hug him. Oh, Ben, congratulations. I'm so proud of you. His sister looked up from her book, her eyebrows raised. Wait, so, does that mean we're rich? Ben smirked. Not just rich. We're super, super rich. His sister grinned. Finally, I can stop asking for allowance increases. Everyone laughed, and Ben's smile softened as he glanced at his parents. A thought crossed his mind. In my previous life, I had a decent life. My parents always worked hard to give me what I needed, but I saw them tirelessly sacrificing for my future. In this life, I won't let them do that. Snapping back to the moment, Ben clapped his hands together. Okay, here's the plan. To celebrate, we're going out for dinner tonight. No arguments. His mother hesitated. Ben, are you sure? An expensive restaurant. Nope. Ben interrupted. Don't even think about it, Mom. Tonight's on me. I'm calling the shots. His father chuckled. Well, if you insist, billionaire. Ben turned to his mother again. Oh, can I invite Peter and Aunt May? It wouldn't feel right without them. His mother smiled warmly. Of course, you should. Call them now. At the restaurant, the family arrived at one of the most upscale restaurants in the city, the kind of place where the chandeliers sparkled like diamonds and the menu didn't have prices. Peter and Aunt May joined them, Peter looking slightly out of place in the grand surroundings. Wow, Peter whispered to Ben as they walked inside. This place probably costs more than my rent. Ben laughed. Relax, Peter. Tonight's about celebrating. Order whatever you want. They were seated at a large table with plush chairs and a stunning view of the city skyline. The waiter handed them elegant menus, and Ben's sister whispered to their mother, how come the menu doesn't have prices? Her mother whispered back, because when you eat here, you're supposed to know you can afford it. Ben overheard and smirked. Don't worry about the prices, just order what looks good. I've got this. The family started enjoying themselves, chatting and joking while waiting for their food. Peter and Ben's sister teased each other about what to order, while Aunt May looked touched to be included in such a special occasion. Recognized at the restaurant as the appetizers arrived, a waiter lingered nearby, looking nervous. Finally, he approached. Excuse me, he said hesitantly. Are you Ben Tennyson? Ben set down his fork and smiled. That's me. The waiter's face lit up. Wow, I'm a huge fan of your work. Twitter, Instagram. It's amazing what you've done. Would it be okay if we got a picture together? Ben glanced at his family, who smiled encouragingly, and Peter gave him a thumbs up. Sure, no problem, Ben said, standing up. As he posed for the photo, a few other staff members gathered around. Even a couple of kids nearby whispered excitedly, pointing at Ben and Peter. They snapped a few photos, thanking Ben profusely. When Ben sat back down, he grinned at Peter. Just a perk of being famous for my work. Suddenly, one of the kids nearby, a boy about 10 years old, pointed at Ben and said loudly, Mom, isn't that the boy who's a shoe thrower? The entire table froze for a moment, and then Ben almost slipped out of his chair in shock. Oh, come on, he muttered, his face red. His sister smirked, leaning forward with a mischievous grin. Yeah, I can definitely see the famous for your work part. The whole table erupted into laughter, even Aunt May chuckling at Ben's embarrassment. Ben rubbed his temples, trying not to laugh himself. I'm never living that down, am I? His father patted him on the back. Not anytime soon, son. But hey, at least you're memorable. As the main courses arrived, the laughter continued, and the family savored the meal. They talked about his plans for the future. As they piled into the car, his sister leaned over to whisper, "By the way, I think you should trademark shoe thrower. It's got a nice ring to it." Ben groaned, but he couldn't stop smiling. As the car hummed softly along the road, Ben leaned back in his seat, gazing out at the city lights flickering past. His family was still buzzing from the evening's events, chatting excitedly about the restaurant experience and their first taste of Ben's new life as a billionaire. His mother turned to him, a warm smile on her face. "That was a wonderful dinner, Ben. Thank you. I never thought we'd ever get to experience something like this." Ben smiled back, but there was a spark in his eyes, something he'd been holding back all night. "Well, Mom," he began, "there's actually more." His father glanced at him curiously from the front seat. "More? What are you talking about, son?" Ben took a deep breath, rubbing the back of his neck. "So, you know how I've been. Working a lot lately? Making deals, doing all this big business stuff?" His sister piped up from the back seat. Yeah. You only talk about it all the time." Ben smirked at her before turning his attention back to his parents. "Well, there's something I haven't told you guys yet. I've been planning a surprise for you." His mother's eyebrows furrowed in curiosity. "A surprise? What kind of surprise?" Ben grinned, unable to hold it in any longer. "We're moving. Tomorrow." The car went silent for a moment, and then his father chuckled. "What do you mean, we're moving? To where?" "To a new house. A big mansion," Ben said, excitement creeping into his voice. "I've been working with a real estate agent for the past month. The house is huge, big enough for all of us to live comfortably. You'll finally have all the space you need, Mom. Dad, you'll have a home office. And I'll have a lab. A proper lab where I can work on all my projects without having to squeeze into the garage." His mother's jaw dropped slightly, her hand going to her chest. "Ben, are you serious? You've already bought a house?" Ben nodded. "Yep. I've been keeping it a secret because I wanted it to be perfect before I told you guys. The agent's been handling everything, the furniture, the decorations, all the little details. Everything's ready now. We can move in tomorrow." His sister leaned forward, wide-eyed. Wait. A mansion? Like a real mansion? Does it have a pool?" Ben laughed. "It has 2 pools. One indoors, one outdoors." She gasped. "Okay, I'm officially impressed." His father turned around in his seat to look at Ben more closely. "Son, this is incredible. But a mansion? Are you sure? I mean, this sounds like a huge step." Ben nodded earnestly. "I know it's a lot, but I've thought it through. You guys have always worked so hard. Always put me and my sister first. I always wished I could have done more for you. This is my chance to make sure you don't have to work tirelessly anymore. You deserve this. We all do." His mother's eyes glistened, and she reached over to hold his hand. "Oh, Ben, you're the most thoughtful son anyone could ask for. But you didn't have to do all this for us." "I wanted to," Ben said firmly. "This is for us. A new chapter, a fresh start." His sister grinned. "So, when do we get to see it?" "Tomorrow morning," Ben said. "We'll pack up the essentials tonight, and the movers will take care of the rest. By lunchtime, we'll be settling into our new home." His father leaned back, shaking his head in disbelief. "A mansion. I never thought I'd live to see the day." "You'll love it, Dad. It's got everything. A home theater, a massive kitchen, a library for Mom, a game room for my sister." Ben smirked. "And a state-of-the-art lab for me." His sister gasped. "A game room? Okay, this just keeps getting better. I'm packing my stuff the second we get home." His mother shook her head in amazement. "Ben, I don't even know what to say. You've thought of everything." Ben smiled softly. "I just wanted to give back to you guys for everything you've done for me. You've always put us first, Mom, Dad. Now it's my turn." His father chuckled, though his voice was tinged with emotion. "Well, son, you've certainly outdone yourself. I don't know how we're going to top this." "You don't have to top it," Ben said. "Just enjoy it. This is for all of us to live the kind of life we deserve." As the car pulled into the driveway of their current home, his family climbed out, still buzzing with excitement about what the next day would bring. Ben stayed back for a moment, leaning against the car and looking at the house they'd called home for years. It wasn't perfect, but it had been full of memories. Ben smiled to himself, knowing that this was the start of something even better, not just for him, but for his whole family. "Come on, Ben." His sister called from the door. "I need to know if I have my own bathroom. Does the mansion have that?" Ben laughed, jogging to catch up. Yes, it does. And trust me, you're going to love it. His mother put an arm around him as they walked inside. We already do, Ben. Thank you. To celebrate his success, Ben invited his friend for a party in his mansion. The night was alive with energy as cars lined the massive driveway of Ben's new mansion. Bright lights illuminated the sprawling property, and music boomed from the DJ setup near the poolside. Classmates poured out of cars in groups, their laughter echoing through the air as they marveled at the grandeur of Ben's home. The mansion was decked out for the party, with colorful lights strung across the yard, a dance floor set up on the patio, and a buffet table laden with snacks and drinks. Ben stood near the DJ booth, a wide grin on his face as he watched his classmates arrive. Peter, Gwen, MJ, and Ned stood by his side, equally impressed by the turnout. Ben adjusted his blazer and gave the DJ a friendly tap on the shoulder before grabbing the microphone. The music faded, and the crowd's chatter quieted as everyone turned their attention to Ben. "Hello, everyone." Ben's voice boomed through the speakers, his charisma immediately capturing everyone's attention. "Don't worry, the party is still on. I just wanted to thank you all for coming tonight. It means a lot to me. And last but not least," he paused dramatically, "I'll keep soaring like a rocket." The crowd cheered and clapped, and the DJ quickly restarted the music. The dance floor came alive as students flooded it, dancing to the upbeat tracks. Ben joined Gwen, MJ, Peter, and Ned, their laughter mingling with the music as they danced together. The energy was electric, and everyone seemed to be having the time of their lives. Tony Revolori, however, had other plans. Whispering to his friends, he said, "This party isn't wild enough for my taste. Let's change that." Tony pulled out a concealed bottle of alcohol he had smuggled into the party and, unnoticed by anyone, emptied it into the punch bowl and other juice containers. His friends laughed nervously but didn't stop him. Ben, oblivious to what had just happened, grabbed a few glasses of punch after his dance with Gwen and MJ. Peter noticed Ben drinking more than usual and raised an eyebrow, but didn't think much of it. By the third glass, Ben started feeling lightheaded. "Whoa," he muttered, wobbling slightly. Peter caught him by the arm and asked, "You okay, Ben?" Ben grinned widely, his confidence growing. "I'm more than okay. I'm great." Suddenly, Ben's eyes lit up with an idea. "Wait here," he told Peter and the group. He walked up to the DJ booth, tapped the DJ on the shoulder, and whispered something in his ear. The DJ nodded, stepped aside, and handed Ben the mic. Ben picked up a concert-grade microphone earpiece, hooked it over his ear, and adjusted it confidently. The music abruptly stopped, and the disco lights dimmed. Without warning, the opening beats of Blinding Lights started playing. The pulsating synth-pop rhythm filled the room, and Ben started swaying to the beat. Then he began singing, his voice surprisingly good for someone who was slightly tipsy. "I've been trying to call. I've been on my own for long enough. Maybe you can show me how to love, maybe." The crowd roared with excitement, clapping and cheering as Ben confidently strutted across the floor, owning the moment. Some of the classmates who were initially hesitant to dance joined in, captivated by the energy Ben was bringing. Ben continued, his voice blending perfectly with the music. "I'm going through withdrawals. You don't even have to do too much. You can turn me on with just a touch, baby." Peter shook his head in disbelief, but couldn't help smiling. "Is it weird that he's actually good at this?" he asked Gwen. She laughed. "I'm as surprised as you are, but this is amazing." As the chorus hit, the room exploded with energy. I said, "Oh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch." Classmates raised their hands in the air, waving them in sync with the beat. Some sang along, while others danced wildly. Even Ned got caught up in the excitement, attempting a goofy, exaggerated robot dance that sent Gwen and MJ into fits of laughter. Ben, now fully embracing the moment, pointed to the DJ, who activated a dazzling light show. Multicolored beams danced around the room as the beat dropped, and everyone screamed in delight. The energy in the room was electric, as if the music had taken over completely. Then, a group of boys brought out a large poster of Jonah Jameson, complete with an exaggerated scowl on his face. "Hey, Ben," one of them shouted. "Look who came to crash the party." Ben paused mid-chorus, turned to look at the poster, and burst out laughing. "Oh, no, not him," he joked, wiping an imaginary tear from his eye. The crowd laughed along with him. Then, in a move that caught everyone off guard, Ben slipped off one of his shoes and hurled it at the poster. It hit Jameson's printed face with a satisfying thud, and the room erupted in cheers and laughter. "Bullseye," Peter shouted, clapping. "That's our Ben. Just the perks of being famous for my work," Ben quipped, returning to the mic. The crowd roared again as he prepared to launch into the next verse. The song transitioned into its final chorus, and the entire room sang along with Ben. "I said, oh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch." As the song ended, Ben struck a dramatic pose, mic in hand, and the crowd erupted into deafening applause. He bowed exaggeratedly before handing the mic back to the DJ, who resumed the upbeat party playlist. The rest of the night continued in a similar fashion, with dancing, laughter, and endless stories that would be told for weeks to come. Even the mishap with the spiked drinks became part of the party's lore, though no one seemed to mind. It was a night to remember, and Ben's classmates couldn't stop talking about how this party was the best they'd ever attended. As the party wound down and the guests began to leave, Ben slumped into a chair, exhausted but grinning. "Well," he said to Peter and Ned, who sat beside him, "I think that went pretty well." Peter raised an eyebrow. "You mean apart from getting drunk and singing in front of everyone?" Ben laughed. "Hey, it worked, didn't it?" "Can't argue with that," Ned said, still chuckling. "Also, my comedy dance was a hit, right?" "Absolutely," Ben replied, patting him on the shoulder. "You stole the show." As the last guest trickled out, Ben looked around the room, now littered with streamers, cups, and confetti. "Totally worth it," he said, leaning back with a satisfied smile. Ben woke up feeling disoriented, his head heavy and the light streaming through the large windows making him squint. He realized he was on a sofa in the mansion's expansive living room, draped in a blanket. He rubbed his temples, trying to recall how he ended up there. The last thing he remembered was singing during the party. Before he could think further, Baymax's calm and friendly voice broke the silence. "Good morning, sir." "Good morning, Baymax," Ben replied groggily. He sat up slowly, blinking as the room swam for a moment. "What happened last night? And who the heck put alcohol in my drinks?" Baymax responded, "Sir, your party is currently trending on Twitter." Ben froze. "Trending? What do you mean trending? Show me." With a software, Baymax activated the holographic projection system. A 3D display lit up in front of Ben, showing clips and tweets from the previous night's party. The first video showed him singing Blinding Lights with a concert-like setup, his voice clear and surprisingly on point, despite being drunk. The next clip was of him throwing a shoe at the poster of Jonah Jameson, which drew raucous laughter from the crowd. Ben groaned. "Oh, great. Just what I needed. A viral video of me acting like an idiot." Baymax scrolled through the comments as Ben leaned closer to read. "What's that song? I need it on my playlist." Ben Tennyson, the singing genius. Someone get him a record deal. The shoe thrower strikes again, this time with style. That poster didn't stand a chance. Faced with years of joy, Ben buried his face in his hands. "They're calling me the shoe thrower now? I can't escape this, can I?" Baymax replied in his matter-of-fact tone. "It appears the public enjoys your sense of humor and spontaneity, sir." The video has garnered over 3 million views since it was posted last night. Ben let out a resigned sigh. "Whatever. I don't have time to worry about this right now. I need to focus on more important things." He stood up, stretched, and asked, "Baymax, did you find the candidate I asked you to look for?" "Yes, sir," Baymax responded. "I have identified a qualified assistant for your upcoming projects. She has extensive experience in project management and organizational strategy. However, due to the unfortunate death of her previous company's owner and the inappropriate demands of his successor, she resigned from her position." Ben frowned. "Inappropriate demands? What kind of demands?" "Confidential information was requested of her regarding sensitive company projects, which she refused to disclose, leading to her departure," Baymax explained. "Sounds like she has integrity. Good. What else can you tell me about her?" Baymax brought up a summary of her qualifications on the holographic display. She has a master's degree in business administration, 10 years of experience in managing tech startups, and has successfully led multiple teams through high-stakes projects. Additionally, she is fluent in 3 languages and possesses advanced technical knowledge relevant to your upcoming work. Ben nodded, impressed. "Sounds like just the kind of person I need. When is she coming?" "She will arrive at the mansion in approximately 30 minutes for the scheduled appointment," Baymax replied. "Perfect," Ben said, running a hand through his hair. "Guess I better make myself presentable. Can't exactly meet my potential assistant looking like I just rolled out of bed." Emily stepped out of the sleek black car and glanced up at the towering mansion before her. The grandeur of the property was impressive, but her thoughts were a mixture of awe and skepticism. He's a genius, no doubt, she mused as she adjusted her blazer. 2 globally successful social media platforms at just 15 years old? That's unheard of. But genius often comes with recklessness. She recalled the clips she'd seen of Ben Tennyson's infamous moments, his outbursts on news channels, the trending video of him drunk at his party, and, of course, the shoe-throwing incidents that had become memes. He's brilliant, but can he sustain it? So many geniuses let success go to their heads and crash just as quickly as they rise. I need to see if he's different. As she approached the mansion, a maid greeted her politely and led her inside. The interior was just as grand as she expected, modern, yet warm and inviting. She followed the maid through a series of corridors until they stopped in front of a set of doors. "The lab is just through here," the staff member said with a polite nod before leaving. Emily took a deep breath and stepped inside. The lab was a marvel of cutting-edge technology. Screens covered the walls, displaying real-time data, designs, and what appeared to be active coding. Ben Tennyson sat at a desk in the middle of the room, wearing a simple t-shirt and shorts, typing furiously on his computer. The hum of machinery filled the air, along with the soft glow of holographic projections. Emily cleared her throat softly, trying to get his attention without startling him. Ben's fingers paused on the keyboard. He looked up, his sharp green eyes locking onto her. A moment of silence passed before a welcoming smile spread across his face. "Miss Emily, glad you could come," he said, standing up and walking toward her. "Thank you for having me," Emily replied, extending her hand, which Ben shook briefly. Without missing a beat, Ben gestured toward an empty workstation. "You can start today." Emily blinked, caught off guard by his straightforwardness. "Wait, just like that? You're not even going to interview me or check if I'm qualified?" Ben tilted his head, as if the question amused him. He turned toward one of the screens and called out, "Baymax, is she qualified?" To Emily's astonishment, a holographic face of Baymax materialized in midair. The AI's voice was calm and cheerful as it responded, "Miss Emily is highly qualified, sir. Her noteworthy achievements include successfully managing high-profile tech projects, demonstrating exceptional leadership skills, and contributing to innovative solutions in her previous roles." Emily stood frozen, her mouth slightly open. She'd heard whispers of companies experimenting with advanced AI assistants, but those were in early development stages. And here was a fully functional AI, casually integrated into Ben's workspace. She began, struggling to find the right words. "This is a fully operational AI." Ben grinned. "Baymax. Yeah, he's one of my projects. Not bad, right?" "Not bad" is an understatement, Emily said, unable to hide her amazement. She stepped closer to the holographic projection, studying Baymax's interface. Most companies are still years away from this level of AI development. Ben shrugged, his grin widening. "I like to stay ahead of the curve. Baymax handles a lot around here. Data analysis, scheduling, research, you name it. He's been especially helpful in vetting potential candidates. Like you." Emily turned back to Ben, a mix of skepticism and curiosity in her expression. "I have to admit, this is impressive. But why are you so quick to trust me? Surely, you've had offers from dozens of highly qualified people." Ben's expression grew more serious. "Baymax doesn't just look at qualifications. He evaluates integrity, adaptability, and potential. You checked all the boxes. Plus, I've seen enough to know you're someone who doesn't back down when things get tough. That's the kind of person I need on my team." Emily felt a flicker of pride at his words, but quickly composed herself. "Well, I appreciate the confidence. But let me be clear. I'm not here to just ride the wave of your success. If I'm going to work with you, I need to know you're serious about what you're doing." Ben nodded, his gaze steady. "Fair enough. You'll see soon enough that I don't mess around when it comes to my work. But for now, let's get you settled in. Baymax will brief you on current projects and priorities." Ben leaned back in his chair, gesturing to the holographic projection that lit up the center of the room. A sprawling campus design appeared, featuring sleek glass buildings, expansive green spaces, and dedicated areas for research, development, manufacturing, and administration. "We need to establish a major company headquarters just outside New York City," Ben began, his voice steady and purposeful. "Not too far from the city, but far enough to give us the space we need." The main facility will include cutting-edge R&D labs, corporate offices, and even an innovation hub for startups we can incubate. Alongside that, we'll need manufacturing factories to produce our devices. Obviously, we can't make every part ourselves. Some components will have to come from other companies. But that's where partnerships come in. Stark Industries, for example. We already have a good relationship with them, and we could collaborate on high-tech components. Emily leaned forward, her eyes scanning the holographic plans. The scale of the project was massive, but the details were meticulous. "Ben, this is ambitious," she said, impressed despite herself. "Have you already scouted locations?" Ben nodded. "I've shortlisted a few spots. Baymax has run feasibility studies, considering logistics, supply chain access, and zoning laws. We'll finalize the site within the next month." With a few taps on his console, Ben pulled up a new projection, a series of intricate device blueprints. Each one was labeled with technical specifications, material requirements, and production timelines. "These are the products I want to launch," he continued. "Devices that redefine everyday technology. Here's the prototype for an advanced smartwatch far beyond anything on the market right now. It integrates seamlessly with AI assistants like Baymax and has features that make current smartwatches look like toys." "This one," he said, pointing to another blueprint, is a modular phone design. Fully customizable hardware, designed for sustainability and long-term use. Users can swap out parts instead of replacing the whole device. Emily's eyebrows raised as she took in the intricate designs. "You've already thought through the features, designs, and functionality for all of these?" "Of course," Ben said with a confident smile. "The ideas have been brewing for a while. What I need now is a solid plan for execution. That's where you come in. With your project management experience, I need you to estimate how long it'll take to get all of this up and running: the headquarters, factories, partnerships, and product launches." Emily crossed her arms, her mind racing as she analyzed the scope of the project. "Okay, let's break this down. For the headquarters, assuming we go with one of the sites Baymax identified, it'll take at least a year to build the facility and get it fully operational. Manufacturing factories will depend on scale, but we're looking at 8 to 12 months for the first one to start production. As for partnerships, you already have a leg up with Stark Industries, but we'll need legal teams to draft contracts and negotiate terms. That could take anywhere from a few weeks to several months." Ben nodded, absorbing her input. "And the devices? What's your take on the timeline for those?" Emily pointed to the blueprints. "These designs are solid, but we'll need to prototype and test them extensively before they're ready for mass production. If we streamline the process, I'd say about 6 months for the first product to hit the market, assuming everything goes smoothly." Ben leaned forward, his green eyes gleaming with excitement. 6 months? I like the sound of that. We'll aim to roll out the smartwatch and modular phone. Once we have a foothold in the tech market, we can expand into other areas." Emily nodded, starting to feel the infectious energy Ben radiated. "It's doable, but you'll need to delegate effectively. Building this kind of empire isn't a one-person job, no matter how brilliant you are. You'll need teams for engineering, marketing, logistics, and everything in between." Ben grinned. "That's why I hired you, Emily, to help me build the right teams and keep everything on track. I don't just want to create a company, I want to create a legacy. Something that changes how people interact with technology." From the moment Ben woke up, his schedule was packed. Mornings started with brainstorming sessions where he would sketch device designs on whiteboards or holographic displays, much to the awe of his team. "Emily," he said one morning, waving a blueprint in the air, "this design is going to blow their minds. Imagine a phone that folds out into a tablet seamlessly. No creases." Emily, ever the voice of reason, nodded while adding, "Let's make sure the prototype works before we promise the world. Okay?" Ben's enthusiasm was contagious, but it also kept everyone on their toes. He demanded innovation, speed, and perfection, sometimes all at once. Ben's lively nature often caught the attention of the media. One particularly memorable incident occurred during a tech conference where Ben was invited as a guest speaker. As he took the stage, wearing his signature hoodie and sneakers rather than the suit everyone expected, he started with, "All right, let's keep this simple. I'm not here to bore you with slides. Let's talk about why current tech is stuck in the Stone Age and how we're about to change that." The audience was stunned but intrigued. Clips of his blunt critique went viral, with headlines like, "Team Genius slams tech industry, and they applaud. Ben Tennyson, the rebel innovator taking the world by storm." However, not all his interviews went smoothly. In one, When asked about his future plans, Ben cryptically replied, "Let's just say the apps are just the beginning. What's coming next is something the world isn't ready for yet." This comment sparked widespread speculation. Tech analysts debated whether Ben was overpromising or genuinely planning something groundbreaking. Some praised his vision, while others labeled him arrogant. Is he just hyping himself up, or does he actually have something big in the works? Became a recurring question on talk shows and online forums. Inside the company, Ben's personality kept the atmosphere anything but dull. He was known for popping into meetings unannounced, often with a pizza box in hand. "So, what's the status on the wearable tech project?" he'd ask while munching on a slice, completely derailing the presentation. Despite his informal demeanor, his ideas were razor-sharp. During one brainstorming session about a smart assistant device, Ben casually said, "What if it doesn't just respond to you, but predicts what you need? Like, hey, Ben, you've left your coffee mug in the lab again." The room burst into laughter, but the idea sparked a serious discussion that led to one of the company's flagship products. The company itself grew rapidly. Construction crews worked around the clock to complete the futuristic campus. Ben's vision was clear. "This isn't just about tech," he told the architectural team. "I want this campus to inspire creativity, open spaces, greenery, and a massive arcade for brainstorming breaks." Factories were also being built with precision. Ben personally oversaw every detail, ensuring the production lines were optimized for speed and sustainability. His insistence on using renewable energy made headlines, earning praise from environmental groups and disdain from old-school industrialists. While Ben's social media apps were undeniable hits, his vague hints about future projects began to sow paranoia among competitors and skeptics. "Apps are just the appetizer," he said in one interview. "The main course is still cooking." Without concrete details, rumors ran wild. Some speculated he was developing groundbreaking hardware. Others theorized he was working on AI so advanced it would disrupt the entire tech industry. "He's either a genius or a lunatic," one industry insider commented during a panel discussion. "Nobody knows what he's planning, and that's what makes him dangerous." The lack of specifics led to a mix of admiration and caution. Investors were eager to get a piece of his company, but competitors quietly worked to undermine him, planting rumors that he was all talk and no substance. Ben's vibrant personality and cryptic comments made him a media darling. Paparazzi often camped outside his mansion, capturing photos of him racing around in his custom electric bike or chatting with delivery drivers like old friends. News anchors debated whether he was a visionary or just a lucky teenager. Talk shows invited analysts to dissect his every move. One morning, Emily walked into the office holding a tabloid. "Ben Tennyson, the boy genius or the next big flop? Care to comment?" she teased. Ben shrugged. "At least they didn't call me a shoe thrower this time." Ben's life over the next 2 years was a whirlwind of activity, marked by relentless ambition, stirring up media storms, and navigating the challenges of building a tech empire. His youthful exuberance and sharp mind often landed him in the spotlight, whether he wanted it or not. However, while his success with social media apps like Twitter and Instagram was undeniable, his cryptic remarks about future projects left people intrigued, skeptical, and, in some cases, paranoid. Ben Tennyson leaned back in his chair, tapping a pen against the sleek table in Tennyson Dynamics meeting hall. The room was buzzing with quiet energy, his team seated and ready. 3 years of groundwork had led to this moment. His modular phone, tablet, and smartwatch were about to hit the market. "All right," Ben said, his voice calm but carrying weight. "We're finally here. Everything's riding on this launch, so I need straight answers. Are we ready?" Emily, sitting to his right, was the first to respond. "Manufacturing is on schedule. Inventory has been stocked in all major regions. We've triple-checked for defects, and our distribution partners are ready." Ben nodded and turned to the head of marketing. "Engagement is through the roof," the marketing lead said. "The countdown teaser on Twitter and Instagram has gone viral. Pre-orders are higher than we expected, and ad campaigns are set to run worldwide starting midnight." Ben glanced at the R&D lead. "And the tech? The modular system is solid," the lead engineer said. "We stress-tested the designs again last week. Everything's functioning exactly as we planned. Seamless switching between configurations for the phone and tablet. The smartwatch integration is working flawlessly too." "Good." Ben set the pen down and leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. What about support? I don't want our servers crashing or our lines jammed on day one. We're ready for the volume, Emily said. The customer support team is prepped, and our servers can handle the traffic. We've also deployed backup systems in case of any unexpected spikes. Ben nodded, glancing at each person in the room. So, no weak points? Nothing we're missing? The team exchanged glances, and Emily spoke up again. If there's a problem, we haven't found it yet. We've done the work, Ben. It's ready. Ben let the silence hang for a moment before pushing his chair back and standing. All right then. That's what I needed to hear. Let's keep it that way. No surprises tomorrow. The team gave affirming nods, and a few smiled. The tension in the room started to lift as they began packing up their notes and laptops. Ben stayed behind, glancing at the schematics for the devices displayed on the large monitor. Emily lingered, noticing his thoughtful expression. You good? She asked. Ben smirked faintly. Yeah, just. It's weird. This was all just sketches and ideas a couple of years ago. Now, it's happening. Emily shrugged. You put in the work. No one can say you didn't earn this. Still feels surreal, Ben said, grabbing his phone and standing. But, hey, no time to overthink. Let's make sure everything goes smooth tomorrow. On it, Emily said with a nod before leaving the room. As Ben walked out of the meeting hall, he couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. He wasn't one for big speeches or dramatics, but even he knew this was a turning point, not just for him, but for everything he'd been building. The event hall of Tennyson Dynamics was packed with reporters, tech enthusiasts, and corporate representatives, each eagerly awaiting what promised to be a revolutionary announcement. Large screens surrounded the stage, and the lighting cast a soft glow over the sleek, futuristic decor. Outside the hall, people across the globe tuned in to watch the live stream. Social media platforms buzzed with hashtags like hashtag Tennyson launch, hashtag modular revolution, and hashtag future is now. The murmur of the crowd filled the room as cameras rolled, capturing every moment. Reporters whispered into microphones, delivering live commentary to their audiences. Here we are, live at Tennyson Dynamics HQ, where Ben Tennyson is set to reveal his much-anticipated tech lineup, one anchor said excitedly. At just 17 years old, this young genius has already shaken up the tech world with Twitter and Instagram. What does he have for us this time? Stay tuned. At exactly 7 p.m., the lights dimmed. The room fell silent as the large screens flickered to life. The first video began with a blank screen and a simple message. What if your phone wasn't just a device, but a tool that evolved with you? Suddenly, a sleek modular phone appeared on the screen, slowly rotating to reveal its customizable components. A voiceover, smooth and confident, narrated the video, introducing the modular phone. A phone that's not just smart, it's yours. The video showcased the phone's modular design, interchangeable parts that could be easily snapped on and off. Need a better camera? Replace it with a high-definition module. Want a bigger battery? Add the extended power module. Interested in gaming? Snap on a dedicated gaming module with extra controls. The crowd murmured in amazement as the video demonstrated the phone transforming in real time, adapting to different needs. The screen then displayed the message, one device, infinite possibilities. The screen transitioned seamlessly to the next teaser. Why carry multiple devices when one can do it all? A sleek tablet appeared, folding and unfolding with ease. The video highlighted its seamless integration with the modular phone. Work on your phone, then expand it into a tablet for presentations or detailed editing. Snap on a keyboard module for a full laptop experience. Use the stylus module for creative projects like drawing and designing. The screen flashed with vibrant visuals of artists sketching, students taking notes, and professionals delivering presentations. Big screen power. Compact flexibility. The final teaser began with a pulsating light in the shape of a wristwatch. What if your watch was more than just a timekeeper? The video showed a sleek smartwatch that connected effortlessly to the modular phone and tablet. It displayed real-time notifications, health tracking, and GPS gesture-based controls that allowed users to manage their phone or tablet without touching them. A built-in voice assistant for on-the-go convenience. The video ended with a powerful statement. The ecosystem that puts you in control. As the last teaser faded, the room was pitch dark. Anticipation hung thick in the air. Then, a single spotlight illuminated the stage. Ben Tennyson walked onto the stage, dressed in a sharp black blazer over a casual shirt and jeans, his signature confident smirk on full display. The audience erupted in applause, cameras flashing from every direction. "Good evening, everyone," Ben began, his voice calm but with a hint of excitement. "I'm Ben Tennyson, and I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight." He paused, letting the applause settle. "Over the last few years, I've been asked a lot of questions. Most of them are about what's next for me after Twitter and Instagram. And tonight, I'm finally ready to answer that." The crowd leaned forward, eager to catch every word. "I believe technology should work for you, not the other way around. That's why I've spent the last 2 years building something that's not just innovative, but personal. Let's talk about it." The large screens behind Ben displayed the modular phone as he spoke. "This," Ben said, holding up the phone, "is the modular phone. It's not just another smartphone. It's a phone that adapts to your needs. Tired of buying a new device every year for minor upgrades? With this, you don't have to." He snapped off the camera module and replaced it with a high-end one, then added a gaming module. The audience gasped as the phone transformed before their eyes. "Want better battery life? Done. Need a professional-grade camera? Easy. All without throwing away your old phone. That's not just innovation, it's sustainability." Next, Ben picked up the tablet. "Now, this is the modular tablet. Whether you're a student, an artist, or a professional, this tablet grows with you." He demonstrated snapping on a keyboard, switching to a stylus, and then expanding the screen to show its versatility. You can take it anywhere, use it for anything, and it works seamlessly with the phone. It's not just a device, it's your partner in productivity. Finally, Ben slid the smartwatch onto his wrist. "And this," he said, lifting his arm, "is the smartwatch. It's your hub, your assistant, your health tracker, all in one. And it's not just a standalone device, it's part of an ecosystem." He tapped on the watch, and the screens behind him displayed how the watch, phone, and tablet work together. Imagine getting a call on your watch, picking it up on your phone, and then projecting the call onto your tablet for a full-screen experience, all seamlessly connected. That's what we're offering. Ben paused, looking out at the captivated audience. "Now, I'm not here to sell you gadgets. I'm here to show you a future where your technology doesn't limit you, it empowers you. A future where you're in control." The room burst into applause, and Ben stepped back, letting the screens display the products once more. "Did you see that modular phone? Game changer. Ben Tennyson just raised the bar for tech. Can't wait to get my hands on that smartwatch. The future of tech is here, and it's modular." #TennysonLaunch. The live stream comments were equally enthusiastic. "Shut up and take my money. This kid's a genius. Apple and Samsung better watch out. Finally, a phone that doesn't make you upgrade every year." As the applause died down, Ben returned to the mic. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he said with a smile. The modular phone, tablet, and smartwatch will be available for pre-order starting now. The screens lit up with a QR code and website link, and the audience erupted once again. As Ben left the stage, reporters clamored for interviews. Emily joined him backstage, holding a tablet displaying the pre-order stats. "Ben, you won't believe this," she said, showing him the skyrocketing numbers. He glanced at it and smirked. "Told you it'd work." As he walked away, the live stream ended, leaving the world buzzing about Ben Tennyson's latest triumph. It had been 2 weeks since the grand launch of Tennyson Dynamics' groundbreaking products, the modular phone, tablet, and smartwatch. The initial reception had been overwhelmingly positive, with pre-orders selling out in record time. Ben sat at the head of the sleek, oval conference table in the Tennyson Dynamics headquarters, dressed in a casual hoodie and jeans, his usual sharp, focused demeanor in place. Around him, his team composed of product managers, engineers, marketing leads, and Emily, his trusted assistant, prepared for the meeting. "All right, everyone," Ben began, leaning back in his chair. "It's been 2 weeks since the launch. First of all, amazing job getting us to this point. But now, let's talk about what's next. What's the feedback from customers? What's working, and more importantly, what's not?" Emily nodded and tapped her tablet. A holographic projection lit up the room, displaying graphs, charts, and customer feedback pulled from social media, emails, and forums. Emily started the briefing. "The initial response has been phenomenal. Here's what people are saying on social media. The hologram shifted to display a stream of comments. Got my modular phone yesterday, and it's a dream come true. Swapped out the battery module in seconds. The tablet is so versatile. I used it for a work presentation in the morning and as an art studio in the evening. Loving the smartwatch. The gesture controls are so intuitive. Finally, a phone that doesn't make me feel like I'm wasting money on unnecessary upgrades. Ben smirked, but Emily continued. While most of the feedback is positive, there are a few recurring complaints. Emily swiped on her tablet, pulling up a new set of comments. I love the phone, but I've been waiting over a week for the camera module to restock. My smartwatch strap broke, and I can't find a replacement anywhere. The tablet is amazing, but why is the stylus always sold out? I've been trying to order the gaming module, but the website keeps crashing. Ben sat up straighter. Supply chain issues? One of the product managers, Alan, spoke up. Yes, exactly. The demand has far exceeded our projections. We estimated we'd sell around 500,000 units in the first month, but we hit that number in the first week. Our factories are struggling to keep up, especially for the modules. Another team member, Priya, chimed in. It's not just production. The website traffic is insane. On launch day, we had over 20 million visitors, and it hasn't dropped much since. Our servers can't handle the load during peak times, causing crashes and delays. Ben leaned forward, his elbows resting on the table. All right, let's fix this. First, let's address the supply chain. Alan, how do we ramp up production? Alan nodded. We've already reached out to our current suppliers, but they're maxed out. We could onboard additional suppliers, but that comes with risks, quality control, delivery delays, and higher costs. Ben rubbed his chin, thinking, we can't compromise on quality. What about expanding our own manufacturing capabilities? Long term, it'll save us money and give us more control. Emily jumped in. That's a solid idea, but it'll take time to set up new factories. In the short term, we can prioritize high-demand modules like the camera and gaming modules. Ben nodded. Do it. And for the website? Priya raised her hand. We're already working with the IT team to upgrade our servers, but we should also introduce a virtual queue system. Customers get a spot in line and an estimated wait time. It'll reduce frustration and keep the site from crashing. Good. Implement it ASAP, Ben said. Another team member, James, the marketing lead, spoke up. There's also an opportunity here to engage with our customers. The supply issues are frustrating, sure, but we can turn this into a positive by being transparent. Regular updates on social media, behind-the-scenes videos of our production process. It'll build goodwill. Ben smiled. I like that. Let's show people what goes into making these products. And while we're at it, highlight how the modular design reduces waste. Remind people why they chose us in the first place. Emily added, we could also host a Q&A session. You answer questions directly from customers. It'll humanize the brand and address concerns head-on. Ben hesitated for a moment, then grinned. Fine, but only if I can dodge questions about my personal life. I don't need another viral headline. The team laughed, remembering how the media had dubbed Ben the shoe thrower after a certain infamous incident. As the meeting progressed, more ideas flowed. A subscription service for priority access to new modules and replacements. Partnering with local repair shops for faster service and support. Creating a loyalty program where customers earn points for purchases and referrals. Ben listened intently, occasionally offering input or asking pointed questions. After 2 hours of discussion, Ben stood up, signaling the end of the meeting. All right, everyone. Great work today. We've got a lot to do, but I know we'll handle it. Let's focus on what we can control, keep the customers informed, and make sure we don't lose the momentum we've built. After 2 months, the office was filled with the subtle hum of modern machinery, state-of-the-art for 2007, though nowhere near the futuristic gadgets Tony Stark would later be known for. Tony sat behind his desk, surrounded by piles of blueprints, reports, and a clunky flat-screen monitor. A glass of scotch rested nearby, untouched for once, as his focus was squarely on the latest financial reports from Stark Industries. Pepper Potts walked in, holding a folder filled with detailed summaries. Tony, I've got the numbers from our partnership with Tennyson Dynamics. Tony looked up, raising an eyebrow. Ah, the boy wonder strikes again. Lay it on me, Pepper. Are we in the green? Pepper sat across from him, handing over the folder. More than in the green. The supply deal with Tennyson Dynamics for their modular phone components has brought in a significant profit margin. It's one of our fastest growing partnerships. Tony flipped through the pages, scanning the numbers. Not bad. The kids definitely got something going on. Modular tech wasn't exactly a secret, but he's managed to turn a theoretical concept into a consumer-ready product. That takes talent. Pepper smiled faintly. Talent and determination. He's only 17, and he's already built a company that's making waves worldwide. People can't stop talking about his phone, his tablet, and that smartwatch. The way they integrate is groundbreaking. Tony leaned back in his chair, twirling a pin between his fingers. Sure, it's impressive, but let's not get carried away. He's good at the consumer tech game, no question, but he's not exactly stepping on my toes. Pepper raised an eyebrow. You think so? Tony shrugged. Pep, look at the bigger picture. I'm Stark Industries. We're not just building phones and gadgets. We're supplying the military, developing next-gen energy solutions, and pushing the boundaries of aerospace tech. This kid's playing in a different sandbox. Pepper tilted her head thoughtfully. Still, you have to admit he's innovative and ambitious. He's managed to get the media, investors, and customers eating out of his hand. That kind of momentum could lead anywhere. Tony smirked. Momentum's one thing. Staying power is another. Sure, he's on top of the world now, but the tech industry moves fast. Trends come and go. One day, you're the hottest thing since sliced bread. The next, you're yesterday's news. Pepper frowned. Don't underestimate him, Tony. He's not just selling products, he's building a brand. People see him as a genius, an innovator. And he's smart enough to keep his future projects under wraps, which only adds to the mystique. Tony nodded, conceding the point. True. The mystery angle works. It's got people buzzing, but it also makes them paranoid. Ever notice how every interview he gives is full of vague hints and no real details? It's like he's playing a game of guess what I'll do next. Pepper chuckled. And it's working. People can't stop speculating. Some think he's a visionary. Others think he's hiding something. Either way, he's keeping himself in the headlines. Tony tapped the folder on his desk, and keeping our wallets fat in the process. I'll give him credit, he knows how to play the PR game. But let's not forget who's running the real show. Stark Industries dominates the military and energy sectors. That's not changing anytime soon. Pepper sighed, leaning forward. You sound awfully confident for someone who keeps asking for updates on his progress. Tony grinned. Hey, just because I'm not worried doesn't mean I'm not curious. The kid's got potential. I'll keep an eye on him. But right now, he's not a threat. He's a headline, a shiny, new headline that'll eventually fade. Pepper stood, giving him a knowing look. You know, Tony, underestimating people has a way of backfiring. Maybe instead of dismissing him, you should start thinking about where this partnership could go next. Tony raised his glass in a mock toast. Duly noted, Miss Potts. Duly noted. As Pepper left the room, Tony leaned back in his chair, staring at the folder. His expression shifted slightly, equal parts curiosity and amusement. The lab was alive with faint mechanical hums, the glow of various screens illuminating the space. Ben Tennyson was focused on a device in front of him, carefully soldering a circuit board while Baymax's holographic interface floated nearby, silently monitoring his work. Suddenly, Baymax's calm voice broke the silence. Ben, you have an incoming call from Peter Parker. Ben didn't look up from his work. Secure the line and connect it, Baymax. A moment later, Peter's voice crackled to life. Ben, I think we have a problem. Ben paused, setting his tools down and looking at the screen. What kind of problem, Peter? Peter sighed audibly. Well, after swinging around the neighborhood on patrol, I came home. You know, the usual, through the window. I was changing out of my suit when the lights suddenly turned on. Ned was sitting on my bed. Ben blinked in disbelief. Are you serious? Why didn't you lock your door? Peter sounded defensive. I didn't come home today to lock it, Ben. I've been patrolling all night. And Ned, being Ned, decided to wait for me as a surprise. Ben pinched the bridge of his nose. This is just great. So what happened next? Peter hesitated. Well, it's not just my problem anymore. Ben's tone sharpened. What do you mean? Before Peter could answer, another voice chimed in, slightly nervous but enthusiastic. Hi, Ben. Ben froze. Wait a second. Ned? Is that you? Why are you on this call? Peter groaned. He knows, Ben. About both of us. What? Ben shot up from his seat. Are you kidding me? Did you tell him? Ned interjected quickly. No, he didn't tell me anything. I figured it out myself. I mean, come on. It's not that hard. Every time something happens, you two mysteriously disappear, and then Spider-Man and some alien show up. The dots practically connected themselves. Ben sat back down, rubbing his temples. How smart of you, Ned. Thanks. Ned sounded genuinely pleased. Ben sighed. All right, listen. If you're in on this, you need to understand that knowing our identities isn't just fun and games. It's dangerous. For you and everyone you care about. Ned's voice softened. I get that, Ben. But you don't have to worry. I won't tell anyone. You're my friends, and I'd never put you in harm's way. Ben exchanged a glance with Baymax's holographic interface, which displayed a calculated probability of trustworthiness. He nodded. We believe you, Ned. But just be careful, okay? Knowing this stuff puts a target on your back. Ned's voice perked up. If it comes, it comes. We're in this together, right? Peter finally cut in. That's not the only reason I called you, Ben. Ben sighed. What now? Did Aunt May find out about us, too? Peter chuckled nervously. Not yet, thank God. But this is serious. During my patrol around Hell's Kitchen, I came across something weird. Ben frowned. Weird how? Peter's tone dropped, becoming serious. I don't want to say too much over the phone. You should come to the mansion. We need to talk in person. Ben stood, already mentally preparing for whatever Peter had discovered. All right, Baymax, prep the rust bucket for a trip to Hell's Kitchen. Baymax's holographic face nodded. Understood, Ben. Ned chimed in again, his excitement undeterred. Ooh, are we going on a mission? Ben and Peter simultaneously replied. No. The newly built house stood proudly in the quiet neighborhood, showcasing its modern design with sleek glass windows and a spacious lawn. Ben stepped out of the rust bucket, stretching as the sun bathed the surroundings in a warm glow. Behind him, Peter and Ned walked out, followed by Aunt May, who looked slightly skeptical as she observed the scene. Aunt May folded her arms, glancing between the three boys. Ben, do you guys really need to have a party tonight? You just finished your exams. Shouldn't you be focusing on relaxing or something less noisy? Ben exchanged a glance with Peter and Ned, shaking his head as if silently lamenting their love for chaos. He let out a dramatic sigh, then flashed his most convincing grin. Come on, Aunt May. We don't do parties every day. It's just a small celebration, nothing crazy. Exams are over, and we deserve a little fun. Pretty please. Aunt May raised an eyebrow, clearly not buying this small celebration line, but eventually relented. Fine, but don't let it get out of hand. And no alcohol. Peter and Ned enthusiastically chimed in. Thanks, Aunt May. As Aunt May waved them off and went back inside, Peter and Ned climbed into the rust bucket. Ben followed, mumbling to himself. They always rope me into their trouble, and I'm the one who ends up smoothing things over. Once inside, Ned looked around the rusty interior of the vehicle, frowning in confusion. Ben, you have so many cool cars, like that sleek black one I saw parked at your mansion. Why are we riding around in this thing? Peter nodded, clearly agreeing with Ned. Yeah, seriously, Ben. You've got options. Why the rust bucket? Ben smirked, starting the engine. You'll know soon enough. After driving for a while, Ben pulled the rust bucket into a quiet alleyway. The three boys got out, the sound of the engine fading into the urban hum. Ben walked to the back of the vehicle, motioning for Peter and Ned to follow. All right, you two, get ready to have your minds blown. Peter and Ned exchanged curious glances before stepping closer. Ben pressed a hidden button on the side of the rust bucket, and with a soft mechanical whir, the back doors opened to reveal a sight that left Peter and Ned utterly speechless. Inside was a high-tech command center that looked like something out of a sci-fi movie. Massive screens lined the walls, displaying real-time data streams, maps, and other analytics. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing complex designs and diagrams. Sleek, futuristic chairs were positioned in front of cutting-edge computers, and various gadgets and tools were neatly organized on the sides. Ned's jaw practically hit the ground. What the heck? Peter's eyes widened as he stepped closer, taking in the sight. Ben, this is insane. You've been hiding this in the rust bucket? Ben leaned casually against the doorframe, a smug grin on his face. I told you the rust bucket was more than it seemed. Ned rushed inside, running his hands over the holographic controls. This is so cool. You've got holograms, state-of-the-art computers, and wait, is this a 3D printing module? Ben nodded, walking over to a console and tapping a few buttons to bring up a holographic blueprint of one of his latest designs. Yup, fully functional too. I've got everything I need here to work on my tech, run simulations, and, well, save the day if needed. Peter glanced at the screens, impressed. This setup is better than most labs I've seen. Even Stark Industries doesn't have anything this compact and efficient. Vin chuckled. Don't tell Tony that. He might take it personally. Ned spun around in one of the chairs, grinning from ear to ear. Okay, this is officially the coolest thing I've ever seen. You're like the ultimate tech guy, Ben.
And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going, plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.